Greetings one and all, and welcome to IGN at Gamescom Now. I'm Max Scoville, this is Brian Altano, and we are coming to you live from Cologne, Germany at the biggest gaming event on Earth. Brian, what do we have in store today?
Today, to get started, we have Gears 5, and after that, we have the Blair Witch, and after that, Destroy All Humans. But that's just a few of the games we've got on our live show today.
Just a few, and this is only day 2. We are just getting started, so stick around. It's all starting right now.
Gamescom.
Gamescom!
Now!
Yeah, we should probably get to work.
Let's go.
Gamescom 2019, the heart of gaming and the biggest video game convention on planet Earth. Over 370,000 hardcore video game fans. One building, over 1,000 video game exhibitors from more than 50 video game loving countries. Gamescom 2019 is here, and IGN is covering it all with 5 full days of non-stop video game reveals, trailers, exclusive gameplay footage, interviews, show floor booth tours, and more. Day 2 of Gamescom 2019 is here, and IGN is hitting the show floor to play brand new games and talk to the brilliant creators who make them. You won't even have to wait in line because IGN is waiting in line for you and making sure your old legs don't get tired from standing pains and get achy knees and weird stiffness in your ankles. So give those beautiful legs of yours a break because IGN Live at Gamescom begins right now.
We are just moments away from them opening these gates behind me. We are at the north entrance of Gamescom 2019. Some of these folks have come from all over the world. How can you not be excited about that? Let's go talk to some folks and see how they're feeling. Okay, so what's your name?
I'm BJ.
How far did you come for Gamescom?
We drove around 2 hours from Frankfurt.
Okay, how excited are you?
It's my second time. It's always a pleasure to be here.
What's your favorite thing about Gamescom?
The people.
Is this your first Gamescom?
Actually, yeah, it is. I'm 19 years old. I was really excited to come and to visit Gamescom really early as a kid, like 14 or 13 maybe, but we had no opportunities to come here and visit it.
I see that you have a shirt, so this isn't your first time.
Last year I was there and I'm really excited for it.
This is my 8th time on the Gamescom.
So you're a pro, you're a veteran.
Yes, of course.
We just finished interviewing some folks. They're opening up the line. People are getting to go into Gamescom 2019. You can feel their excitement after traveling miles upon miles, waiting an entire year for another Gamescom. The time is now. Gamescom spans 4 days and takes over 11 enormous convention center halls. It sees over 370,000 fans and over 1,000 exhibitors showing off the hottest games like Cyberpunk 2077, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and Death Stranding. We made it in! Let's go! You traveled from the States for Gamescom to play Doom Eternal?
Not exactly Doom Eternal, but just to play everything. But yeah, this is one of the games we look forward to.
We made it to the Doom booth. The level of detail is incredible. I'm so excited to check it out. Let's go. You guys, look at this photo. Look at this photo booth magic. They're live and they have this gorgeous set. There is artwork over here. And then we're actually entering the spectators area, which is awesome for those that maybe don't have time or don't want to wait in those massive lines. They can still enjoy and see what's to come for Doom Eternal. I also have a very high appreciation for these concrete walls. I'm not gonna hit it because I'm afraid that I'm gonna mess up their booth, but it's very sturdy, so I won't mess it up. I just hold that fear, so. We just finished showing you the Doom Eternal booth. Let's see what else there is. Look at how massive this thing is. They have this huge video wall going all the way across the booth where they're showcasing some Gears 5 footage, which, you guys, Gears 5, so exciting. They also have some games up that you can play. They have the Xbox Elite Series 2 controller, which is something that I personally am very excited about. Let's go talk to some people and see how they're feeling. You're so close to the front of this Borderlands 3 line. How excited are you to get your hands on it?
I'm very excited to get my hands on it. I've waited about 4 years for this, and yeah,
now you're about to play it.
Yeah.
We found they have custom shoes for tons of different games that they're actually giving away pairs of these at the show on their stage, which hopefully I can win myself a pair of these Cyberpunk ones because those are sick. As you can see, Gamescom 2019 is officially in full swing, and we've got plenty of Gamescom coming at you right after this.
Hey everybody, Destin Legary here for IGN Live at Gamescom 2019, and Death Stranding is a big hit at this event. Joe, they teased that they would be showing an additional trailer.
Yeah.
You just got out of the demo. Take us through the experience.
Okay, so as with everything in Death Stranding, I've come out slightly more clear on the story and slightly more confused about everything else to do with this game.
Okay.
Essentially, this extra trailer that they're showing is called Briefing. It features Sam, Norman Reedus' character, and then Amelie, who is the new president of the United Cities of America.
Okay.
And D. Hardman, who we've seen very briefly before, the guy with the skull mask.
Yes.
They are attempting to convince Sam to pick up their work in connecting the disconnected cities of America after a cataclysmic event that's caused all the BTs and all the problems that we've seen in previous stuff.
So America's in disarray because of these cataclysmic events that they've been sort of teasing in trailers and such.
Crucially, the cities are all called not cities. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
But basically, you're traveling from Washington. This scene takes place in the Oval Office. You're traveling from Washington, what is now something else, but is called would-be Washington in our world, to the West Coast, to Edge Knot City, where a group of separatist terrorists called the Homo Demons have taken the president, although she's still able to project a hologram to Washington.
Got it.
Do you got it? I don't got it.
Well, I mean, there's bad characters that you need to stop. Right?
Yep.
And the Hollow Demons, as you said, are the ones that you need to stop. Right?
So the interesting thing...
Is that the entirety of the demo? So
Yeah,
they're
so
separated and then you run into the factions?
Yeah, so it's essentially a cutscene in which they show Sam a hologram of all the work they did trying to connect the whole of the United Cities of America.
Yeah.
Her getting kidnapped, and then Sam, at the end of the trailer, actually saying he doesn't want to do this and leaving.
Yeah.
So we don't know how he gets... Because what we've seen from the gameplay we saw earlier this week, shows that he's doing what they asked. When he goes to the Jeff Keighley character's weird trailer in the middle of nowhere, he puts what's called a Cupid, that floating necklace, into his terminal, and that's him reconnecting that area with the East Coast.
Oh, so he does interconnect a little bit.
So we have seen him taking on the mission they want to do. It's just at the end of this trailer, he says no. So between then and there, he's reconvinced somehow.
Got it. So the Jeff Keighley trailer, that's an example of how they're going to have all these side characters in the open world, right?
Yeah.
So just guessing, basically, maybe he chose no in this scenario, but maybe when you play, you can choose yes. Did it seem like a pre-canned cutscene?
No, it is a full cutscene. It's a story cutscene. So that's definitely not a choice. So that's a part of the story. I think
this is a core story element.
Yeah, this seems to be really early in the game. And then at some point after this, the story is going to have him reconvinced for whatever reason. I'm assuming this is pre him having the BB on his chest. He hasn't got he's not wearing any of the gear we've seen before. It looks like the earliest trailers of Death Stranding where he's in that like tank top, that like leathery tank top. So that something seems to have happened. They're talking about how he disappeared and they were doing all this work without him. So there's some long interconnected story that we're jumping into at the halfway, at the early point.
Paint me a picture of what you actually saw aesthetic-wise. So, like, this world that he's in, is it still the open world with rocks?
So this isn't a game. This isn't gameplay at all. This is just a story cutscene that takes place in the Oval Office. So he's just talking to these two characters in there.
He's in a building that's non-dilapidated. Like it's a well-structured building.
It seems like it could be that it's a projection of some kind because when they walk around, lights, so like the background's turning off, it's unclear if this is the real Oval Office. It's just designed to look like it.
I'm really intrigued by all the aspects of gameplay that they've shown. It seems like there is a delivery mechanic where that's your core responsibility as Norman Reedus' character to deliver these packages to various people in the world and then accept new quests. This sounds like this is the first bit of story that we're getting of more of your overarching goals for the entire experience.
Yeah, this is setting up what this game is going to be. Like, they're contextualizing why we're seeing him delivering all this stuff all over the United Cities of America.
Do you have, based on all the Death Stranding stuff that you've seen, do you have any better understanding about the spirit world or any of that stuff and how that is going to interplay with the core story?
Not from this story. So we know there's some hint that Amelie, the character he's talking to, the new president, has died but is somehow now ageless.
Okay.
So there's something to do with the spirit world there, but it's not made clear here what's going on with that stuff. Like, this is very much just Sam's got a job to do. He's got to get from here to here to here to here, and then essentially recover the kidnapped president at the end of that on the West Coast.
Yeah. So, Joe, your overall take on Death Stranding, where are you at with it right now? Personally, I'm really intrigued about figuring out how all these mechanics interplay.
Yeah.
I'm getting a better idea of what some of the gameplay elements are going to be that I'm experiencing. I still want to know how that Shadow Realm plays with the core story there.
Well, that kind of thing is that is the key question that's still left. After all of these trailers set up the idea that this is a game about delivering, about reconnecting, about getting from place to place. Like, it seems like traveling is the major point.
Yeah.
And this story trailer, more than anything else, tells us that is what Sam's his core campaign goal is. Like, aside from meeting everyone and dealing with the BTs, it seems he has to get from here to here.
Yeah,
it's a
sure.
journey. It doesn't tell us about the spirit realm, but it does imply why we've seen those little bits of combat when there's people chasing him. Those seem to be the separatist groups trying to stop him from reconnecting these places. So when we get to the spirit world, I don't know, but for now we kind of have a better sense of what Norman Reedus' character is doing in this game, which is nice.
Yeah, for sure. Joe, thank you so much. I'm so glad you got a chance to check out what they're showing at Gamescom, and
It's
Gamescom
nuts.
only, right?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like right now they haven't talked about releasing this trailer anywhere else.
Yeah, so thank you so much for checking it out for us. Guys, for more on all things Death Stranding, keep it right here with us at IGN at Gamescom 2019.
Hey, Nick, did you hear about the new Marvel news?
No, what happened? What happened? Hey, what happened? Tell me.
Has this ever happened to you? Good news! It doesn't have to! The Daily Fix is here every day with a concentrated dose of all that gaming, movie, TV, streaming, internet, and puppy news you need to survive the work week. All right, so puppy news isn't on it yet, but I'm working on it. Roll the thing!
Reggie Fils-Aimé is retiring.
Eagle-eyed fans are combing through every last frame.
I came prepared.
Oh.
Stay right here on IGN.
And keep it locked to IGN.
IGN Now. New news that's new to you.
Introducing the all-new Up It News!
Don't touch it. What's wrong with you?
Get corn snack.
Game sucks. Bring it back.
Up at noon, weekends on IGN and YouTube.
Welcome back to IGN at Gamescom Now. I'm Brian Altano with Max Govo, and this is Jehan Rousseau from Spiders, the CEO, working on the upcoming action RPG Greedfall. This game looks awesome. We talked to you a few months ago at E3. We saw new stuff. You guys have a new trailer.
I'm very glad to see you again.
It's good to see you. It's been a crazy summer for video games, and your game just keeps getting more and more busy. There's more and more characters. There's more and more heart and depth. I could talk about this for a while, but I'm going to let you do that. What's new in the Gamescom trailer?
Well, I think that's what we will show you here is it's gameplay mostly. As far as I can remember, during the E3, there were still, some cutscene and, elements coming from the trailers. This is really gameplay. So it's in-game, really what you will experience during the game. So here, it's beginning where you will be able to create and customize your character. So there is this small cutscene with a painter that is, trying to draw your portrait, and you can choose here your gender, of course, but also some different faces and also, hair color, different haircuts, and so on. So it's what we're used to see in different RPGs. I mean, it's not that original, but we try to make it, relevant with the time period. So we try to have some haircuts that are, consistent.
I like this haircut a lot.
We see a lot of different sort of novel ways of doing a character creation screen. In Fallout, it's like shaving, but this is such a nice touch to be sort of sitting for a portrait. Now you just had a brand new trailer that really emphasized sort of the the character side of things. I feel like when we talked to you at E3, it was all monsters and the terrifying wilderness stuff. And now I find out that we're not monster hunters. We're actually, it's all about diplomacy.
So, well, at the beginning of the game, you will learn really about all that, because you're creating your character, Desade, is a diplomat. So he's part of the court. You're the nephew of the Prince d'Orsay, who is, very important noble from the congregation of merchants, and you're sent with your cousin to this island, so to Tiafradi. The island has been discovered 15 years ago or something, but the congregation is not here for a long time. They have begun to build a small city, and your job there will be to establish some relationship with the other nations from the continent, but also, obviously, with the natives, and to try to, communicate with them, to try to understand what is happening on the island. And even if your personal main goal is to find a cure for the disease that is actually plaguing the continent and that your mother is dying from, well, you will also have to do a lot of diplomacy with different other factions that are here.
And it's not just the factions either. You have companions too, right?
Yeah, each companion is related to one of the factions. So there is 5 companions, and there is 5 other factions than the congregation of merchants. So there are all important people in their faction, so their voice will matter. So when you're going to visit, for example, some other governors from the other nations, or some kings and queens of the native, the fact that you have a companion with you that is also important in their faction will probably make them, more welcoming, and these companions can help you understand what is happening in the faction, what you should know about, the different tensions, or the political setting of this faction. And of course, if you're bringing someone from the opposite faction, it can, lead to a terrible mistake.
That's not really great diplomacy. It's like, hey, I heard you hate these guys. I brought one of them.
One side of my brain wants to ask you all about the skill trees, which we just saw. They're very in-depth.
Yeah.
The other side of my brain just wants to scream out, like, is that some sort of badger bear? There's so many wonderful monsters in this game. Every time we see this game, I feel like there's crazier creatures that start coming out of the woodwork.
Well, we try to create some original creatures, different from what you are used to see in this type of games. So there are these animals that are different, and the idea was to create the same, I would say, amazement feeling that probably some when some people reach some new islands and new country, they discovered strange fauna, strange creatures. They were trying to draw them, and most of the time it looks very strange, and we're very weird when we're looking at the drawings now. And this is what we wanted to give back to the players, so a kind of amazement feeling and the discovery also.
I really love that, because if you look at like cave paintings of horses, they're like kind of thick.
Yeah.
And then you're like, did they have weird horses, or did they just draw horses weird?
With very small head.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think overall this game has it doesn't look familiar. It doesn't look like the same as everything else. It's got a unique look, and the monsters have their own kind of original designs. I read somewhere that you did a lot to kind of create a custom language.
Yeah. So all the natives have their own language. When they are all only together, they will speak their own language. They, of course, speak English too when they're talking or exchanging with the settlers. They may not know all the words, depending on how far and how deep they live in the island. Of course, some clans that are living close to some settlers are, more used to use English. As the others, they won't like even to use English, so they will, be reluctant to talk with you. But we create that language really to reflect also this difference, this cultural difference. And we worked with a linguist that really created a completely whole language. It was very funny because we had the actors, all the actors were playing some natives. They had to learn that language. So the linguist is living in Shanghai, and he was sending some video with him saying, hello, I will, today we'll give you a course on Tier Freddy. And all the actors, were repeating in front of the video. It was very, very funny. But they were amazing, very professional, and it was for me very moving to hear that language, being talked and finally seeing these characters taking life.
Yeah, I mean, to make a video game from the ground up is an immense project, and that's when you can even be following the lead of other games that are out there, and you're like, no, we need to create original monsters, and oh, by the way, let's have a foreign language as well. Why not?
Now,
it's an undertaking.
This is kind of like a tragic question, but you're essentially, I'd say, invading a sort of a native space where there are creatures indigenous to that area in the wild, and you're kicking their asses and they're spitting blood everywhere. Are you kind of the bad guy from some perspective?
Well, you can. I mean, as a player, we have had plenty of choices. You will meet plenty of different people. You have to understand that even the different faction, they are not thinking all the people are not thinking the same thing and acting the same way. So amongst the natives, there are plenty of different clans. Each clan has his own philosophy, his own point of view on the settlers, and you can, decide to support some of them or to fight them. And it's exactly the same for the other faction and nation coming from the continent. So it's really up to the player to decide how he wants to positionate himself. Facing all these different characters, some native will ask for his help, and some others will, don't want to do anything with the settlers. Some will try to fight back, and you can really decide during the game to side with the natives and say, okay, in the end, I don't want to be the bad guy.
Right.
I want to be. To support them. So it's really up to the player to decide and make his own way through the game and through the story based on his own philosophical choice or just just emotional or how he feels towards some characters. And there is no moral judgment from our part.
And so there are. The emphasis now is there are tons of characters. There's relationships, there's dating, there's friendships. Those things can go sour. What does that look like on the back end? That seems like tremendously complicated. And keep in mind, I have no idea how any of this is made.
And honestly, it is huge. And for us, it was 3 years of development nearly. And we are a small team. We are 30 in the team. We went up to 50 on some moments during the development, but we are a very small team, so we had to work a lot, to be honest. But it's really made out of passion. We completely are fan of this type of games. We were missing this type of games since some time.
Yeah.
And that's why we wanted to create again this type of game. So, we spent some time with the team to create this universe, to give life to it. We know that we can't compare to a huge studio where they have hundreds of people working on it, but we come with our honesty and our love for this media, and I hope it's visible while playing. It's a generous game, and we tried to add all we could. So crafting system, as you can see it in the videos.
I saw some kissing there. Are there romance options?
Yeah, there are romance options.
If you break up with someone in this game, will they kill you?
No, but you may lose some friendship also. But there are some romance options.
That's good to know. When can people play Greedfall? Because I know they want to know
the
that.
game is released the 10th of September, so I'm terrified, to be honest.
What are you doing here?
We did nearly everything we could, so I'm here, basically to present the game, to be with you.
I'm glad you're here. No, thank you so much for coming. Greedfall comes out very, very soon, so check that out. Please keep an eye on this game. It's very special and unique. We have plenty more games coming up right here at IGN at Gamescom now, so don't go anywhere.
Gamescom can be a little exhausting. You're on your feet all day, you're waiting in lines, there's massive crowds, so sometimes it pays off to go take a trip to the beach. The Gamescom beach, that is. We definitely did not ditch our coworkers and leave for the beach. That would have been so rude. But why don't we go see what they have to offer? So you can see they have beach volleyball going on. If you want to go and expend some energy in other ways. There's actual real sand here, which I'm very confused. How did they get the sand here? Probably a very giant truck would be my guess, but I'm not a construction worker or a sand rental place, so I don't have the real answers. They also have these lovely seating areas so you can rest your feet. And they have the music bumping. The beach is actually presented by Big FM as well as Gamescom. So they definitely have some good tunes playing. As I was saying, they have seating so you can sit back and relax. These seats are very comfortable. Put your feet up. Honestly, this thing could probably even be a table if you wanted to bring some food in. Let's see, the sand, I was talking about the sand earlier. They actually brought in all of this sand. Can you imagine how heavy that was? And they did not skimp. It is a good sand. Check that out. No rocks in it. It's just nice and smooth. It's even the like kind of damp kind, which I like because it's nice and compacted. Easy to walk. It also looks oddly very delicious. So why don't we give it a try, see how it tastes? It's sweet. Yeah, it's definitely sweet. Don't try this at home. Anyways, more Gamescom 2019 is on the way, so make sure to stick around.
Reggie Fils-Aimé is retiring.
Eagle-eyed fans are combing through every last frame.
I came prepared.
Oh.
Stay right here on IGN.
And keep it locked to IGN.
IGN Now. New news that's new to you. Introducing the all-new A Bit News.
Don't touch it. What's wrong with you? Get corn snack. Game sucks. Bring it back.
A Bit Noon. Weekends on IGN and YouTube.
Fact. IGN is better at video games than all other outlets.
All video games. Who's a good boy?
We're also the best at being incredibly humble.
I just on you, kid. I got him.
Yeah! Whoa! Yes! Yes! Yes!
Welcome back to IGN at Gamescom Now. I am Sydney Goodman, and I am joined by Ryan Cleven, who is the design director over at the Coalition, which means we are talking about Gears 5. I am so excited. You guys have had such a big week.
Yeah, it's been great. Like, everybody at the Coalition is super happy to see what's coming out of Gamescom. Like, we couldn't be prouder of Gears 5, and we're so happy that people are loving what they're seeing.
So we are definitely going to get the Horde mode, which I know is something that everyone is very excited about. But let's just touch on story for a second, because I know you guys dropped a new story trailer yesterday, and it's going to be our last peek at things before the game releases in a couple weeks.
Yeah, so this, like, the whole, with Gears 5, we've really, like, we started with a multiplayer reveal, which as the multiplayer design director, that was awesome to be able to be like at E3 as with multiplayer front and center. And then we revealed Versus, and now we're talking about Horde, and we got to see a little bit of the campaign there. And we are really excited to announce that you can play 3-player couch co-op with 2 players and Jack as in the campaign. So that'll be great for people that want to play co-op.
Yeah, and I mean that couch co-op is so awesome because I know people love just playing with friends on the couch, as the name would suggest.
Yeah,
so
and Gears
so
kind of like co-op, as we say, is like cake. It's not the icing, right? So like, it's something fundamental to the DNA of what makes Gears Gears. And you know, with Gears 4, we had 2-player co-op, and we really wanted to make sure that we brought more people in, like to be able to play co-op on the couch. And that was something that, even though the rest of the industry was moving away from like couch co-op, it's something that we wanted to kind of double down on and embrace.
Yeah, well, and I think it's awesome that, you know, fans feel heard and understood, that you guys understand that that is just so essential to the DNA of that Gears fan base, which is awesome. So you mentioned Jack.
Yeah.
Now can you expand kind of on his role in that 3-player co-op?
Sure. So Jack actually has a role in both Horde as well as the story. Jack is the sort of support robot in Horde that you can play, and in the campaign, when you're playing as a single player, you can actually use Jack and the abilities that Jack does in the gameplay. So you can actually order Jack to go pick up weapons. You can have him use special abilities like to help to buff you or make you invisible, or be able to solve combat puzzles with the Jack robot. Now, when you're playing in 3-player co-op, one of the players is going to play as Jack and have a very different experience playing Gears of War. You don't have to go into cover with Jack. He kind of cloak, can fly over the battlefield, and really give players that may not be comfortable like pixel hunting to get the perfect shot to be able to join into Gears of War and play with their friends that might be more familiar with the game.
So is Jack only available if you're doing the 3-player co-op versus, let's say, you're doing a 2-player co-op and maybe one of your friends is inexperienced? They wouldn't necessarily play as Jack.
Well, you need a human to play, so one of you needs to be Kate as the main character, and if you can play Jack as either the second or third character.
Okay, great. That's great. Okay, so you mentioned Jack, you mentioned Horde Mode. Let's just dive straight into it. Tell us what new things we can expect for Horde Mode.
This Horde is really the richest, it's the deepest Horde Mode that we've ever made. It's something that we imagined with more ways for players to be successful. And the first big difference you're going to see is the fact that with Escape, we revealed that we have hero characters with ultimate abilities in Escape. Well, we've brought the same PvE philosophy to Horde Mode. So all 5 characters will have a unique ultimate ability as well as unique passives, unique character cards, and what we have introduced as in-game progression with perks, which are actually upgradable abilities throughout a single session of Horde. So those ultimate abilities like Kate with her invisibility, with JD with his artillery strike, Jack has a really cool ultimate, it's called Hijack, which, you know, we love our puns.
I get it.
Yeah, exactly. He can take control of an enemy unit, such as the Pouncer or drones, and use that against the swarm. So Foz has got this really cool ability where he can see and shoot through walls. So each of the characters has their own really defining abilities that you as a group will want to try to find the combination that not only works with the individual, but also as a team. And that really has such an expanded meta for Horde that we really think it's going to keep players trying to figure out the best combination for a long time.
Yeah, and so you mentioned in-game progression, and just to clarify for folks at home, there is still out-of-game progression, correct?
That's right, yeah. So unlike with each of these hero characters, as you play, that character's going to level up. And then periodically, whenever you hit a new level, we're going to give you a new skill card. And that skill card, you can take any 5 of them, and every character is going to have about a total of 14. You can choose 5 of them to go into a Horde session with, which means my version of Kate might be different than your version of Kate, and I can build that very similarly to how I might build, say, like a MOBA character or something like that. So that means that out-of-game progression, every time you play, you're going to gain a little bit of power to be able to meet higher levels of difficulty.
So, ultimately, that is not the word that I meant to come out of my mouth.
All the time. It happens all the time.
So obviously, folks love Horde Mode, and how do you choose kind of what to keep from Gears 4's Horde Mode and what to build on? Like, where does that process start?
Well, it always involves going back to kind of Gears 2 and making sure that whatever we build has that essentially like a Horde quality.
Yeah.
We always want to make sure that it has emergent gameplay, that it is obviously a defensive game, but it really, we want to make every mode as much as possible allow players to explore, for them to be able to find new things that we didn't anticipate. So that's always the core of what it is. Now we have such a blueprint in front of us of all the things that have been tried, and when we tried 4, we heard back from the community what they wanted to see differently, and we wanted to bring something that made the game more accessible to new players while giving a much bigger metaphor for new players. And that was always the thing that we wanted to do, was make it so the community had more to talk about, that there was more arguments over the water cooler as to which character was better, what the right composition was, because that, like, Horde is as much played out of the game as it is in the game, where the whole community really wants to find the best build, and we see people that have done like crazy spreadsheets of total like numerical analysis on all of Horde to try to figure out what the best combinations are. And so using that community feedback in combination with always making sure we go back to the roots, with trying to bring fresh ideas to keep the game feeling fresh over time, that really sets the ground for any new solutions that we bring. And then we'll brainstorm and we'll try to find inspiration from wherever we can. However, it always has to go back to those pillars.
Yeah. So you said a few like really awesome nuggets. I hope I don't forget all of them. But let's go back to, you mentioned something about accessibility.
Yeah.
So it feels like, from everything that I've heard about Gears 5, that is such a core tenet of this installment. Why now?
Well, Gears has always been a game that has been known to be challenging. It has, a really visceral, sometimes bloody presentation, right? It's yeah, exactly. It's definitely like a more mature rated product. And from the beginning, we got feedback. I mean, Epic got feedback that sometimes the language is too much or the blood was too much. So we actually gave options really early on inside Gears history to be able to turn off some of those things that you might not be comfortable with.
Yeah.
And from that, it was always our intention to make sure that more people could play the game, and that with Gears 4, we really saw kind of maybe a bit ahead of the curve that we put options in there to be able to colorblind mode and being able to do sort of richer subtitles. And with Gears 5, we've really, Microsoft has stepped up with the accessible controller that we've got, and it's really been a priority for our company and our studio and this game as a demonstration of what we hope good looks like. We've got a whole, we've got narration where you can turn on narrator mode and actually read all the menus. We've got control over subtitles. We've got, for new players, we can actually turn on a lock-on system that lets them aim really easily, so that if you don't have control over both the sticks, you can actually still play the game. With Jack, it's an entirely new way to play. So we've really invested on, as many ways as we can to bring people into Gears, because it really is about having everybody play, right? It's something that's important to, like I said, us as a studio, but also us as a company.
Yeah, which is amazing. That's I don't want to say that's the perfect answer, but it's so awesome to hear such a genuine answer of just games for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And we've made sure that we also consult. We have people that play Gears that are actually blind.
Yeah.
Which I find is incredible. And we've, for example, in Gears 4, we put in a system where you could, a radar ping to tell where the fortifications were, to be able, so somebody that couldn't see very well, to be able to find their way around the map. And people can actually successfully complete Horde while being blind is incredible, and we wanted to embrace that sense of play and make sure that more people could enjoy Gears.
Totally. Okay, so we've been ignoring this B-roll, and the B-roll just switched from Horde, but I do want to talk about these collaborations.
Sure.
Oh my gosh, you guys are killing it on the collaboration. So we heard about Terminator back at E3, and now do you want to tell us? I'll let you do the honors.
Sure.
But just talk to us about these new collaborations.
So, we are super excited to announce that we have Halo Reach characters in Gears of War. Now, this has been super exciting for the studio. Obviously, we've worked very closely with our partners at 343 to bring Emil and Kat from Halo Reach into Gears.
And there we go. We see some of that.
These are two of our favorite characters, and we've really tried to be as authentic as possible, where we've brought the drop shield as Emil's ultimate. We've got the hologram decoy as Kat's ultimate, and they've been rendered in a style that we think is really true to both where they came from inside Halo Reach, but also feels like Gears. It is seamlessly integrated and doesn't feel out of place. And that's something that we think Gears fans will love, but also Halo fans too. And it's they're actually my two favorite characters from Halo, so I am so happy to have them.
Did you have something to do with that decision?
No comments.
But I also love that they're fully integrated, like you were saying, beyond just being a skin. They have their own ultimate abilities.
That's right.
Touched on. And so really quick, because I think we're running out of time, but where did you guys start in coming up with who do we want to collaborate with?
Well, I mean, with Halo, it's always been something that we've talked about for a long time, and it was never really right before. And with the opportunity of that was provided by hero characters, we could give them unique gameplay. We could give them something that was special. So because our studio heads get together and they talk about what the possibilities for that could exist between our different franchises, it was really a great opportunity that was more easily connectable than something else in the past. So we've always wanted to collaborate with Halo, and Halo Reach with the release of it, the re-release of it, was just a great opportunity to bring those together. The timing was great, and it's really all about the timing when it comes to those partnerships.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming by, Ryan. We really appreciate it, and I know that I am not alone when I say that September 10th is coming, and we are excited. More IGN at Gamescom now. We'll be back right after this. Gamescom has everything you could want and more. They have games, they have cosplay, they have merch, and they have snacks, including these lovely Pokemon sparkling drinks, aka Kokemon. Let's drink them all. Let's taste, shall we? Tastes like the inside of Ash's pocket. It tastes like trapping your lovely friend in a very small, contained space. Let's give it another go. Yeah, that's good. Betrayal tastes nice, doesn't it? Just kidding, Pokeballs are so lush and comfy. Okay, what does Snorlax taste like, you ask? Has notes of drowsy. Yeah, I like this white grape flavor. More like white great flavor. Am I right? Pokemon. Okay, let's move on to some Jigglypuff. Let's see what Jigglypuff tastes like. I feel like she'll taste like cotton candy. Very sassy. I don't know that I love this. Okay, now we're moving on to the final two, which is Pikachu and Charmander. To be honest, I'm a little bit insulted that they didn't have a Squirtle one. It is called Ocean Bomb, and Squirtle is literally water. Like, you could have just made a water flavor and included my favorite Pokemon, but I digress. Let's leave Pikachu for last. Here is Charmander. It says it's orange flavor. Swirling it about. This one actually really tastes like what I'd imagine Charmander tastes like. Like if you lick his head, like his bald little head. Charmander. All right, let's go to the last final one. It is cider flavor. I don't know what cider tastes like, but apparently it tastes like Pikachu. Pika Pika. Yeah, I'm tasting a little bit of Ryan Reynolds. There's definitely electrolytes in here. Oh man, that's electrifying. Yeah, okay. I think I am going to return to my favorite flavor, which again is Snorlax. We'll finish this one up because you gotta drink it all. I was supposed to burp into camera, but I just can't bring myself to do that. So this has been the Pokemon Drink Challenge 2019. Nah, we were just trying out these drinks here at Gamescom. They have so many snacks and more. Stick around because we've got more Gamescom coming right at you.
Fact, IGN is better at video games than all other outlets.
All video games. Who's a good boy?
We're also the best at being incredibly humble.
I just on you, kid. I got him.
Yes. Hey, Nick, did you hear about the new Marvel news?
No, what happened? What happened? Hey, what happened? Tell me.
Has this ever happened to you? Good news! It doesn't have to! The Daily Fix is here every day with a concentrated dose of all that gaming, movie, TV, streaming, internet, and puppy news you need to survive the work week. All right, so puppy news isn't on it yet, but I'm working on it. Roll the thing!
Welcome back to IGN at Gamescom now. When it first appeared in the Blair Witch project way back in the 90s, the Blair Witch was a strange found footage creation, and now the Blair Witch is appearing in a video game, which is presumably very scary. But how scary is it? Let's find out.
Oh, shit!
No. No.
like witches. It's fine.
I'm honestly just getting flashbacks to Fatal Frame.
Everything's gonna be fine.
Okay. New game in 3, 2, 1.
All right, we're just getting right into it.
In local news, there is still no sign of the 9-year-old
Oh no, Peter!
You're not gonna find that kid. He's gone. Dang it, Peter.
Oh, look at the dog.
Dog.
Oh.
Good boy.
Oh man, we're gonna solve crime with the dog.
Oh, what's his name? Oh my god. The search begins.
Can I pet the dog?
Oh, you can pet the dog.
We're just gonna pet this dog.
How do I pet him? Look how cute. Look at those ears.
Yes. Bo gets pets.
Oh, what a good boy.
Can I just spend my 30 minutes doing this? Because that'd be great.
Let's find this kid. He's been through enough already.
Yeah, we can find a kid.
That's a huge donut. Oh my gosh.
Sorry, Anthony. First come, first served.
Walkie-talkie. Yeah, that's a walkie-talkie, bro.
I think we are ready to move into the forest, y'all.
Ooh, nice. There we go. All right, here we go. Now it begins.
Let's go get murdered.
Okay, Bullet, don't leave me.
Oh man.
Oh, that kid is screwed.
Probably a natural landmark. Yeah. Witches.
Deep into the woods. All right.
Okay, I thought I was prepared for this, but now I'm just scared.
Also, why is this place turned like Fallout?
You know, my colleagues are playing this the wrong way. They're playing the actual game. I'm playing the game within the game. It's gonna be a better video for it.
Find something? Oh, what? Whoa, whoa.
What the hell is that?
What do we? Oh, okay, we're running.
What is that? This is a UFO. It's not a witch.
Yes, I know how to run. Can I just go, please?
Why would you leave me?
What the f is happening?
Oh my god, the weather. We're running from lights.
I don't know where I'm going. Stay out of my swamp.
Oh, hey, there you are.
Oh, hey, buddy.
Whoa, look at the Deku tree.
I don't want to die in there either.
Yeah, going to the big creepy tree.
Where's the puppy?
Bullet, there you go. All right, Queen Goma, prepare to meet your match.
All right, made it to the tree.
It's dark as hell.
Oh, good. There's a flashlight. Isn't that great?
Wow, we really are in the Great Deku tree.
You know, a lot of people find the forest creepy. I think it's very, very serene.
I don't like this one bit.
What good is a flashlight if it goes out in 5 seconds? Oh god, I'm gonna die.
Just wait out the storm and then go back to your truck and get out of there.
Wait, what?
Should I?
Haha, screw you, pagan symbol.
What the hell?
Oh.
Oh, I don't like this.
Bullet! Spam that bullet button. Give him that bullet.
I'm a little bit freaked out.
Ew, get out of my ears! Ah!
Bullet, where? Why does my flashlight suck?
I'm scared.
Ah! Oh, what?
Oh, we're getting closer. Ah!
Getting closer to what? Your death?
Honestly, I'm more worried about cryptids than a witch.
Is there a spooky around here, boy?
Okay, that's a little far, buddy.
I can't even swing it. Oh, shit.
All right, Bullet.
What is it?
Yeah, something's wrong. Your flashlight's going out and you're not running.
Oh, shit. What the f is that?
Oh, hello? Hi!
That's a good boy. Get him!
I'm just gonna keep walking.
Oh,
What the?
Ah! You're just a tree. Ah! Oh shit! Oh shit!
Holy shit!
What the?
Oh, you creepy, bro.
Oh,
What the? What the?
How do I fight you?
Get out of here, dude.
Am I Alan Wake now?
just run, Bullet!
I think oh no is my catchphrase.
Ooh, nope.
Dude, this guy would be dead immediately without this dog.
Bullet, drive.
Okay, we got out.
All right.
Oh, thank God.
Pretty glad that I frickin' changed that ringtone earlier.
It is a phone.
No, I'm not okay.
So I fought some tree spirits. You're never gonna believe this, but Treebeard just went crazy on me.
Damn, actually, I accidentally hanged up on Jess.
For now, we survived, yeah.
F you. Also, who is Jess?
Oh, missed the call.
Come get me now.
Thanks, Jess.
Do we have like Uber service out here in the middle of nowhere? Because I will call an Uber right now.
Why would you look for this place?
I think there's some in the, excuse me. It's the water.
Oh, hey, I got a generator running.
Let's just stick together. We'll go back and rob that guy's house. That's a good boy.
Guess we're not gonna find out.
No, I could probably solve it.
Hello. Watch. Sure, why not? It's only 120 minutes long.
With the power of video, this door will be opened.
Red tapes allow you to manipulate reality. Oh, that's a nice trick.
Back a little bit, not too much. There we go.
Okay, that's freaky.
Da-da-da-da!
Okay. We're so nosy.
Open the drawers. 3324. Oh, is that the lock maybe?
Okay, 3324. That's how I get out.
2, 4. I'm a great. Oh, I don't want to be in the house. Are you kidding me? The house?
Wait, what house? Don't take me to any houses, y'all.
I don't want to be in a house.
You know, fun fact, I've never actually seen the Blair Witch Project.
Oh my god, what's wrong with your fingers, dude?
Let's get this over with.
Don't like the situation we're in right now.
No going back. What are you talking about?
Where are we? Oh, hell no. My dog is not here.
Where's my dog?
Where's my puppy?
Where's Bullet?
I don't have dog. Bullet! Oh, I've lost Bullet.
Oh, this is great, but also no.
Oh, there's a bull going down the stairs. Oh my god.
Oh shit. Oh no.
No.
F that.
A key.
There we go. My hand is so messed up.
All right. Well, I have a key.
Time to go to the death basement.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, you gotta be f***ing kidding me.
Okay. Let's just go down. Good things always happen in the basement.
So they put it down here, man? I don't like this.
Oh, this is a different house. Nope. I don't want to try radio. Do I get cell phone reception? Come on, Jess.
Fuck.
Oh, God.
Oh my fucking god.
Shit!
Oh, shit! Oh, my God. Oh, God!
Oh, what is happening?
Oh, I'm sweeping out. I can't do it.
What is that?
That was a good one.
I can't do this.
This is a shit house in the same goddamn room.
Oh, hey, a door marked in blood. That's gotta be good.
Oh, this looks nice.
This is a real bad room.
Oh, yeah, let's go into the bloody room.
If I just sit here in the dark, I'll just die a peaceful death, right? That's all I need to do.
Oh, yeah, great.
Oh, this is nice.
What is this? Oh, Jesus!
Jesus.
I don't like this place. Where is my dog? I want the dog back.
Yeah, f you. I didn't want to go through that door anyways. It's just bad wiring. It's fine. Everything's okay. No.
Oh, why are there words on the wall?
Don't look. All right, then.
Oh, fuck. All right, you look, you dead. Should I look? I'm gonna look.
I hate that. Can I? Shit.
Oh no.
All right, well, let's say you look, you dead.
I beat the demo.
My whole body is trembling.
This is me tapping out.
This game has me so nervous. I don't know how to play it again.
Not enough bullet. I need more bullet.
Without bullet? Nah. I can't do it without a dog friend.
Fact. IGN is better at video games than all other outlets.
All video games. Who's a good boy?
We're also the best at being incredibly humble. I just on you, kid.
I got him.
Yes! Introducing the all-new Up It Nude! Up It Nude's new and approved recipe is chock full of lists, let's plays, unboxings, special guests, goofs, guffaws, and other content too stupid for regular weekdays.
Like some sort of color-changing reptile stripper man. I'm doing it. Don't touch it. What's wrong with you? Get corn snack. Game sucks. Bring it back.
Up at Noon, weekends on IGN and YouTube.
Welcome back at IGN at Gamescom now, and with me is Barbara from Bluebird Team, and we're talking about a game that I personally, I have to say, I think I don't want to play it.
You
not
don't?
Because yeah,
I'm hurt.
Yeah, no, not because of you. but because Blair Witch is a movie and the game just looks like it, that I'm scared of it, to be honest.
Well, it's a horror game, so
Yeah,
I
it's a
guess
horror game,
that's
exactly.
that's a good thing.
We just recently had a piece and we asked the question, how scary is Blair Witch? I think I can answer that question. It looks horrible.
And it was really good piece.
Yeah, thank you on that. I will forward it. So the game is out on August 30th already, like in 9 days. So we're doing kind of a wrap up, and it's your last chance to talk about all the details that we might have missed. So right here, oh, that's a perfect point to jump right in. We're seeing the dog, and I have to ask that question: can I pet the dog?
Of course you can.
That's super important.
And I actually believe it's an important feature, because if you couldn't pet your dog, it would feel so unnatural.
I know. Tell that to the people from Game of Thrones.
Gladly.
I know. So tell me something about the background. I know that we had, let's say, 2 movies, almost 3 movies, but 2 movies that have direct connection to that universe, right?
Yeah, that's true. Basically, you are playing as Alice, who is an ex-cop. And you, together with your trusted friend Bullet, of course, decided to join a search party that is looking for a missing boy. And the boy went missing in a forest, and it's that forest.
Usually, this forest reminds me a bit of my childhood with my like at my
you
grandmother's.
Had an amazing childhood, I guess.
Yeah, I grew up a bit in Poland, a bit in Eastern Germany. So this really reminds me of my childhood. What does not remind me of my childhood is how horrible other parts of the game look. This is definitely not my childhood. So as we can see, we can really pet the dog, which is fantastic. We have certain options, right? What we can do with the dog.
Yes, because you can communicate with the dog using different commands. And each of these commands obviously will have different use in a game. There will also be some contextuals, like if you found an item that is underground, you can ask your dog to dig it out. So there's a lot of things your dog can help you with.
Yeah.
And for example, now he's pointing out to some interesting stuff.
Apparently he just found something that we would have missed without him.
Yeah, there's also some items they're hard to see. So sending him out, asking him to look for them, it's much easier to just, encounter them.
Right. Can I actually lose my dog in the game?
I'm not saying anything.
Oh my God, that's gonna be traumatic. Please don't do that to me. I'm a dog lover and I hate dogs. That would be the worst combination.
Okay.
Oh, that's
petting
so cute.
the dog.
Yeah.
All there.
Did you do that? Like, did you have a real model for that?
Actually, we have a dog in our office. So we motion capture both the dog and the person who is interacting with him. So.
But the dog is more interesting.
Of course.
Right. So this seems very. This seems like a detective story to me. Very classic. Like you're looking for these notes, and then you find a hint, and then what are you doing next? Like, okay, there's a picture. And where are all these people? There's police there. Why
but
are
they
these
already went to the forest, and you are just late.
Oh, I'm late.
Yes,
That's my
and
fault.
about being detective, well, it's about missing boy. This is how the story starts. But we also want to explore with this game the story of downfall of human nature. So
downfall of human nature.
Downfall of human nature.
Wow. Okay.
So it's not only important. Your goal is not the only important information in this game. You also need to pick up all those clues in order to understand who you are, what kind of character you are playing, what happened to him.
Well, and now this happens, and I knew it would happen. Now he seems to be off to the woods.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Those woods.
I mean, he could stay in the light, but he apparently wants to go to the woods. Right, so now
that's
he's
his decision. We can't do anything about it.
Yeah, we can't do anything about it. That's basically the core of the game, right? Okay. So when we talk about this whole area, the woods and the forest itself, is this linear or is this open space and I could run into different places? Like just as if I want to explore it,
could I go rogue and just go where I want to, or is it more linear?
Well, it's not an open world, but it's much more open than any of our previous games like Layers of Fear or Observer, because there you were walking through narrow corridors. Of course, there were some side paths that you could take, but this time it's much more open.
All right.
There is much more to explore and much more to find in the end.
Oh, we're leaving the forest. Great. Oh no, we're seeing that symbol. Not so great.
Yeah.
That's not really, well, it would make a good tattoo though, I guess. If I really want to have a connection to that like witch thing. All right. So tell me something, because I think we have one more bit of gameplay.
Yes.
That we're about to see, and the one thing that I already know is that it does not look like my childhood era. Definitely not.
That's
so
good.
Here we
That's
have
good
the
for
game.
your childhood. I would be worried if you had that in your childhood.
Me too. It would be kind of weird. So what am I seeing here? Where am I in the game here?
No spoilers.
Yeah.
But it's much later than what you just saw. And basically, with this piece, we are showcasing how different the environments can be. Because, well, at first you can think, oh, it's just a forest. But no, there can be very, very diverse environments in there. You can use forest to create really amazing atmosphere and to really show things that they seem natural, but they seem so scary. And
it looks so good. It really looks so good in a weird way. I'd say, like.
I mean, for horror, that's probably a good way.
For horror, it's very good. For walking in a park, probably not.
Yeah, probably.
So what's happening? What's happening here? He seems to be running away from something.
Yes, I can't explain what because spoilers.
We don't like spoilers at IGN, so we're not.
No one likes spoilers.
Not covering spoilers of any kind, right?
Yeah, so no spoilers, but for this part, for example, we are showcasing that it's not just about walking slowly and doing detective stuff. No, there are very different mechanisms, very different features for this game, and well, you just need to do different stuff.
So I'm running away from a unnamed threat into a dark place with a flashlight, into a cave probably under a tree. That sounds totally normal.
Yeah,
that sounds totally normal.
Childhood, right?
Yeah, like my childhood. So we're under that tree, right? And we're with that flashlight. So what is happening? What's going on?
Well, you know about as much as he does. So basically, you escape the threat, but will this be the only threat waiting for you there? You won't know.
Right. Okay. Well, and of course, the flashlight.
Of course, but it needs no batteries, so don't worry, you don't need to look for those.
Oh, what's that? What's that? Is that a piece? No, that's not. It's a photograph. Of a photograph. What's on the photo?
A man standing
in the corner of the witch house.
Maybe.
Okay, that's a direct reference to the movies, right? So we have a connection.
Well, it's a Blair Witch game. Of course, we have Blair Witch in there, so it's happening in the same universe. So we acknowledge all that happened in this movie, but in the same time, it's not about just recreating the story that was already told. It's more about taking all this legacy, all those mythos, and adding a totally different story to the franchise.
Yeah, so it's basically almost 100% independent.
Yes, I mean, there are some connections with the things that happened before, but in the same time, it's not about them. It's about new story, new horror.
Right. Good. I think, my God, getting closer. So this is actually only here for the demo, right? So there won't be chapters in the final game.
No, the final game is one seamless adventure.
Great, a seamless, happy adventure. I think that's a great way to wrap it up, right? Unfortunately, we're done. That's a great way to wrap it up, guys. I'm happy you were here to explain why this game is so scary, and it really is. Guys, stay tuned for more on IGN. Thank you very much. Dziękuję bardzo.
Proszę bardzo.
And, well, stay tuned on IGN.com, IGN at Gamescom now. Thank you very much for joining.
Hey, Nick, did you hear about the new Marvel news?
No, what happened? No, what happened? Hey, what happened? Tell me.
Has this ever happened to you? Good news! It doesn't have to! The Daily Fix is here every day with a concentrated dose of all that gaming, movie, TV, streaming, internet, and puppy news you need to survive the work week. All right, so puppy news isn't on it yet, but I'm working on it. Roll the thing!
Reggie Fils-Aimé is retiring.
Eagle-eyed fans are combing through every last frame. I can't prepare.
Oh.
Stay right here on IGN.
And keep it locked to IGN.
IGN Now. New news that's new to you. Introducing the all-new Up It News.
Don't touch it. What's wrong with you? Get corn snack. Game sucks. Bring it back.
Up at Noon. Weekends on IGN and YouTube.
Oh, hi.
Hey, what's going on?
What's up? How are you?
Guten Tag. Hey, this is IGN at Gamescom now. We are in the middle of day 2. Our live show is going strong. There's all sorts of exciting stuff. Brian, what do we still have to come?
In just a bit, we have Darksiders Genesis, and then after that, Destroy All Humans. But first...
Those sound way too scary. I want something more sportsmanlike. And luckily, we've got FIFA 20 coming up next, and Joe Screbbles is there to talk to the people about the kicking of the ball and the goals. And he's doing that segment because we're dorks and we don't know enough about
understand
sports.
it. But Gamescom now, right here. Don't go anywhere.
Go!
Welcome back to IGN at Gamescom now. I'm Joe Screbbles and I'm joined by Matt and Sam from the FIFA team, and we are going to talk some football, which is always the highlight of my European travels. Guys, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
And Matt, I'd love to start with you because you are in charge of the story, the narrative for probably the biggest change in FIFA this year, Volta, which, I mean, it's still, you know, we're getting to grips with it. We saw a bit more yesterday, but it still feels like a bit of a mystery.
Yeah.
I'd love you to elaborate on what Volta's about, and particularly that story element. I'd love to know what we're gonna play.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so I mean, Volta Football, I mean, holistically is really about celebrating what the world's game is from a different perspective that the fans have been asking for a long time, right? And we've been kind of honing and polishing and getting into a deep 11-a-side experience for a long time. I'm really good at that, but we also understand that for a lot of people out there, their actual stadiums are streets, you know, their cages, their courts, and that's where they can really express their creativity and their style. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, you know, they even influence the way the professional game is played, and that's what Volta Football really is. It's about celebrating that creativity and all of that style and kind of passion. And Volta Story is a narrative experience that brings you through that world, and you're confronted with some colorful characters, some real legends of street you'll meet and get to test your mettle against them. You also get to build your squad up and ready yourself for kind of the biggest tournament in the Volta world, which is the World Championships in Buenos Aires. Mm-hmm. And you're going to want to try and get the right players, the right mix of players to try and take a run at that. And along the way, you're gonna make some friends probably, and some enemies too. But really, it's just a fun, lighthearted story about kind of diving into that deep and colorful world of street football.
And are we talking about a branching narrative like The Journey as well, or is it a bit more of a straightforward experience through it?
It's a more straightforward experience in some respects, but in other respects, it's got more user agency in that, unlike the Journey, which we had, curated characters, mm-hmm. you have your avatar now, and that was really important for us, that we wanted to satisfy what fans have been asking for a while, which is the ability to make themselves in the game and bring themselves into that space and experience that narrative in that world. And so now we're all about giving you the opportunity to customize yourself, choose how you look, what you wear in game, how you dance when you score a goal, and how you move on the court, and really able to create your kind of personal brand inside the Volta Football world, and that was really important for us as well.
You worked on The Journey as well.
I did, yeah.
And obviously that was a huge change for FIFA to introduce a story mode, to introduce narrative, and now that this is the 4th year we're having a story in FIFA.
Yeah.
What have you learned? What is it about creating stories within this sports structure that kind of works for you? What do you think is making it continue to work?
Yeah, going back to The Journey, that was always a trilogy, and we were always aiming to make it kind of this kind of nice clean arc, and we wrapped it up nicely in 19. We were pretty happy with the results there, and we also heard that the fans were hungry for that same kind of experience. But the sports world is just so full of drama and interesting stories in and of itself, right? It's just it's a factory for that kind of stuff. So it's not hard to draw those kinds of moments out and get them to happen to you in that context. And so when you insert interesting character into that, that's when you get the fun stuff. And I think that was where we kind of tested the waters a bit in the journey and figured out what our voice was and how we could, create a fun world to explore.
Yeah.
And then in Volta Football, we were able to take that even further because it's our world and we had to do what we wanted with it, and that was really fun.
So you're inventing a bit more around that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do you have a similar sort of multi-year plan for this like you did with the Journey?
Well, right now we're just focused on 20, and so we're trying to get that out the door right now and doing the last tweaks here and there. But we're really hoping that the fans respond to Volta Football Story like they did the Journey.
Cool.
Yeah.
And in terms of, like you mentioned that you've refined the 11-11 system. Obviously, you're paring it down for smaller games now, multiple different types of smaller games.
Yes.
What kind of challenges did that present with, like, using those existing mechanics but having to rely on smaller and smaller pools of
it was
players?
really interesting. I mean, conceptually from the very beginning, it was really important for us when we were doing our research. We discovered that one of the core pillars of small-sided football and street football is that it is so diverse. Wherever you go, every country, every city has its own version, flavor of the game, and it was critical for us to capture that diversity and that difference across all the ways you can play the game. So that's why we set about creating 3v3 rush with no keeper, 4v4, 4v4 rush, 5v5 futsal. And when you introduce something as simple as walls like you see here in a smaller space, even though we're using the same fundamental gameplay that FIFA has been known for so long, it changes the dynamics so much, right?
Yeah,
there's no out of bounds. It creates a kind of more fast-paced, frenetic feel. You got to move the ball really quickly, and it also creates a space where skill moves are something that you really want to get good at. And something that we thought was really critical to achieving that was simplifying them just to make the experience a bit more accessible for users that might be coming in, players that might be coming in to play our game that maybe aren't even football fans. They just want to try something out that's new.
Absolutely.
And what Volta does for us in that respect is it kind of reduces football to its elemental levels, right? It takes away some of the rules that for an outsider can be a bit confusing, right? And it's just down to kick the ball into the net, right? And use your teammates to do that. And this, what you're seeing here, this 3v3, the wall becomes like a fourth teammate almost, right? You can play it off the wall to yourself, to your teammate, and all these things that we try to kind of bring together with the gameplay team, which they did an unbelievable job to make it this experience that feels really fresh and different, and it's unique in and of itself. But at the same time, you do know that you're playing FIFA, and you do know that when I go to the 11v11 game, what I'm learning here inside these courts, these cages, is going to translate. And that was also super important, that people could graduate, if you will, from Volta into that if they wanted to.
Oh, that's cool.
Or if they were just happy playing the smaller-sided football, they gave them that depth that they can stay in there and play it in different ways. That's why I wanted to create so many different ways to play the game, not only in the match types and the squad sizes, but also, so we've got the Volta Story, obviously, which is exciting for us. We have Volta World, where you can just travel across the 17 locations across the world and play tournaments in the different various forms. And then for that little competitive edge, we introduced Volta League, which is that kind of online competitive vibe as well. So we wanted to give you all those different ways to kind of dive into it. And a really fun part about it as well is that all the teams that you're playing against the AI are composed and built by the community.
Right.
So all that stuff we were talking about, customization, personalization, about having your own identity in that world, you're going to see it, all these people's different takes on what their Volta players are, and have the ability to have them on your team. Because after you beat somebody,
you pick them up.
Yeah.
And in terms of, I mean, you're talking about Volta like it's an entire separate game in some senses, like you could just concentrate on that.
Yeah.
What made you include it as part of FIFA rather than make a FIFA Volta game?
Yeah, that's a good question. For us, it was always about the FIFA as a whole experience, and like we said, that a player can come into here and basically learn football, and then when they're in this space, they can go, hey, I like this. What else is there? And then FIFA 11 aside is right there. And so for us is about how these things can work together and complement each other and not be two totally separate entities, and that they can actually work together as one unit and help people understand and love the game that so many of us love so much already.
That's really cool. And in terms of that, just to return briefly to the narrative mode, can you talk about what that story is at all? with your created character, can you talk about where you'll go with
Are
it?
you asking me to spoil the story on
Not
a live
spoil
stream?
the story, just the start, just the inciting incident.
Well, so the ultimate goal, like I alluded to before, I'm gonna be sneaky.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. Is to get to the multiple world championships and take a crack at that, right?
Right.
So, to build your squad along the way, and it's about understanding what makes Volta tick.
Right.
If that's
Okay.
vague and
I feel like that's all
intriguing
you're
enough.
going to tell me.
Yeah. But the cool part is, like I said, you'll get to meet some real life street legends, as well as some real life football stars you might recognize. So.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And to bring Sam in a bit, because I feel like you've just had to watch a lot of Volta for a long time. I'd love to talk a bit about, we've talked about how the game's been refined for Volta, but obviously you're always working on the 11-11 game.
Yes,
like,
for sure.
What are your big goals this year with the gameplay in FIFA?
Yes, so the first thing I actually want to mention is that this year we worked very close with the community. The community feedback was very important, and most of those big features that we are bringing to FIFA 20 are based on feedback on what the community wanted to see. So this year we focus on the three main areas of football, which is on the ball, off the ball, and the ball itself. And I want to start telling you a little bit about off the ball, which is a re-architected positioning system that we have in FIFA 20 that allows us to give more time and space to the dribbler, so there can be more one-on-ones. So one-on-ones, that's what we're basically trying to encourage. Why? Because, well, first of all, they are a very interesting part of football when you see Mbappe trying to beat Jordi Alba, for example. And then in FIFA, it's going to be the time where user skill is going to matter. That's where my skill is going to shine. So we wanted to encourage those moments. So that's very important. And then when you are in those moments, we needed to give you some more tools, which is when you're on the ball. And those tools are the strafe dribbling, which is just a tool that allows you to be super agile and responsive with the ball to try to avoid getting tackled. Then there's the control tackling system, which is a new system that basically calculates how the player should get to the ball to tackle it and recover possession. Then there is the composed finishing, which is different improvements to the fundamentals of shooting to give you a more consistent and clinical experience. So what I mean is, if you're in an easy situation in a one-on-one with the goalkeeper, then you should be able to score most of the times. If you are in a more complicated situation, you're outside of the box and then the ball is bouncing, there's a lot of defenders in front of you, then you should have less chances to score. So that's important. And then the setup touch, which is actually a really cool mechanic where you can just like basically push the ball in front of you and the right speed, the right angle, so you can approach it with a good angle as well, so you can get a better shot with less error, more chances to score. So
That feels like it's been built on the sort of first touch, like flicks and those movements that you introduced last year.
Exactly. And then when it happens, and then feels like you work for that, for setting up the ball when there's enough time and space, and then you work for it, and then if you score, it's very rewarding. And then we have brand new penalty kicks and free kicks. The intention is to have accessible systems that are pretty accessible, so everybody can understand. And the aiming is very simple, but then there's more depth. If you really want to master those systems, you need to practice. For example, in free kicks, you need to swing the right stick, and then based on how you swing it, you apply spin to the shot, so it can go around or over the wall, for example. And finally, for the ball itself, we have a brand new ball physics system. And that means that the ball is just going to bounce in a more natural way. If the ball hits me, it's going to get deflected like it would in real life. And if I take a shot, then if it's a finesse shot, I will see more curve, for example. If it's a lace shot, I may get a rising shot or a dipping shot based on how I hit the ball. So basically more pronounced trajectories. So when you put all these things together, the game just feels more like real football. You feel like you are actually playing the actual.
That's really cool. Yeah. And in terms of, you were talking about the community feedback and how much that's become a part of the development. This slightly silly off-topic one, but indoor football has been something that people have talked about since FIFA 98, and it's now popped back up here. Is that a direct result of people asking for it literally every single year?
I can tell you that I've been at Gamescom for a few years, and always the most requested feature was like street, playing on the streets, for sure, for many years. And actually we're very happy that now FIFA 20 is finally back, and yeah, it's a big year for us.
It does feel like you've got a bit more of that sort of slightly earlier FIFA, like just a touch of silliness to it. It's like, it's not just pure simulation. You've got the house rules, you've got Volta, you've got this sense of like you're bringing some of the more fun, like, playground elements of football to FIFA now. Is that like a conscious evolution? You kind of started last year, and it seems like that's expanding this year as well.
For us, it's very important to have variety in game modes. So, for example, with Volta, that's a big part. We had the journey before. Now we have house rules as well. We have FUT. There's a lot of different things going on there. Obviously, variety in terms of licenses as well. For example, this year we're expanding with the Bundesliga, and now we're here in Germany. There's 13 new stadiums. There's around 180 new player faces in the game. So that's very important. And also expanding in terms of gameplay, bringing innovation every year. So I think those three things together is what we focus on.
That was a nice goal.
Yeah.
And talk to me more about that adding the Bundesliga. I'd love to know what goes into, how do you choose those new licenses? How do you go about getting those faces? What's the process of like the behind the scenes stuff? Because I love the idea that you're having to get in touch with these players, like work with them so deeply. Like, what is that for you guys?
Yeah, well, obviously our goal in the long term is to have as many teams as possible, right? So there's a team that they work on the licenses and what players are going to have. And then when that's done, then we go to certain places where the players are, we scan them, we bring all those scans back to Vancouver. We've sent people so they can take very sophisticated photos of the stadiums. We send them back, and then we have the artists back in Vancouver, actually making those stadiums in FIFA. So it's a long process. But it's totally worth, because it's not simple to add a stadium into FIFA, right? And every year we add many more. So it's something that we're actually very proud of, which is all the variety that we have.
Well, speaking of variety, I'd love to talk about FUT and some of the additions there. I know we talked about, you've talked previously about the added kind of customization elements, like being able to unlock sort of outlandish tifos and like quite strange new parts of that, like we were talking about with the slight more increase in silliness, a bit more fun. Like, can you talk us through how that came about and what we'll see in those customization elements?
I think it's the same idea that you should be able, if you want to get maybe a little bit far from the authenticity, if that's what you want. So the idea behind it was, again, to have variety, to have more things for you. And yeah, after a lot of brainstorming, and actually a lot of that had to do with the feedback as well from game changers, from pro players, they wanted to see something fresh. And then our friends back in Vancouver that work in the FUT team, they were brainstorming for a long time until they say, okay, they came up with those features that allow you to have more personalization. That's what they were trying to achieve with those new, I don't know how you call them, what you mentioned.
The extra elements,
tifos.
And that's across the whole thing. I mean, it goes all the way to Volta as well.
Oh, does it?
Well, just personalization in general. The theme of people being able to have their own experience that they customize for themselves. And that's something that we want to have consistent across the whole game. So it's, like you said, from FUT to gameplay to Volta to all of it, we wanted to have that ability to customize and tailor your own experience to the way you want to play it.
Cool. And to swap to another new mode, or another mode, I should say, career mode's had a big change this year as well. So could you talk us through those changes as well?
Do you want to?
You're probably better for that one, yeah.
Okay. So I know there's a lot of more customization in terms of managers, for example. That's very important. You can also have a woman manager, which is important. And then I know that there's a new morale system. So players basically, they understand better what's happening. They react to the decisions of the manager. And I know that was something that the community really wanted. They were asking for it for years. So it's finally here. And I would love to tell you more, but I'm more into the gameplay side. We have our career mode friend somewhere in the back.
That's where he's actually scoring goals right now.
Well, I mean, that does interest me, that interplay with the gameplay then. I mean, I'd love to talk about, if we're talking about morale boosts, if we're talking about how that affects players, can we talk about how players can vary from game to game, how they'll react to those different morale boosts? Like, what will that affect in a sort of scientific way on the back end?
This is actually an interesting question. So in gameplay, how we develop the players is just related to stats. It's just the stats. So sometimes people tell us, oh, why when I play FIFA Ultimate Team, the game feels different? It's just the same players, but with added stats like chemistry, for example. So it would be the same thing here, depending on how the player is doing, like the ratings that they get based on career mode or whatever game mode calculates them. Then they just go into gameplay, and then you see that really makes the player maybe a little bit slower when dribbling, if the dribbling attribute is lower in that case. So it's just modification of attributes, and then there's some external system deciding, okay, are we going to increase those attributes, like in FUT when there's good chemistry, or are we going to decrease maybe those attributes, let's say if my manager is not happy with me, for example.
Right.
So that's kind of how we develop those systems.
That's cool. And in terms of Volta, how does that, I mean, obviously we're working with a bit more emphasis on skill moves and a bit more emphasis on flair play.
Yeah.
Is that something that you are actively changing in the back end, or is that something that you're just you find yourself doing more because you've got more space on the pitch?
Well, we didn't change it on the back, and we changed the controls a little bit. We simplified it a little bit.
Right, okay.
Just so that people can get to it a little easier. Obviously, the way you can do it in 11-a-side is still there, so that's what you're used to, and that's how you like playing. That's totally an option for you. But we want to, again, lower that barrier a little bit, so you can actually do skill moves by holding both triggers and just going in a direction, and it'll contextually play a skill move in that situation. Likewise, you can do a simplified flick where you just click the right stick and you'll do a flick again contextually with what's around you. It just kind of gives players a quicker taste of what that looks like, because that world is full of that, right? That's part of it, is like scoring with style, not just scoring. And then we also added some new flare animations to kind of top that off and round out that experience. And again, that was all about just capturing that vibe and make sure that it felt like a real small-sided or street game.
Awesome, that's great. Well, that's about all the time we have with you guys, I should say. That was a lot of FIFA. I was really got my words. But we have got so much more coming from Gamescom, so keep it locked to IGN.
Reggie Fils-Aimé is retiring.
Eagle-eyed fans are combing through every last frame.
I came prepared.
Oh.
Stay right here on IGN.
And keep it locked to IGN.
IGN Now. New news that's new to you. Introducing the all-new Up-It News.
Don't touch it. What's wrong with you? Get corn snack. Game sucks. Bring it back.
Up at noon. Weekends on IGN and YouTube.
Fact. IGN is better at video games than all other outlets.
All video games. Who's a good boy?
We're also the best at being incredibly humble.
I just on you, kid. I got
Yes.
We are here at the first ever Indie Village here at Gamescom 2019, and they have over 150 indie games here on the show floor. They actually have this space, which is the Indie Arena booth headquarters, and these devs had to apply for these spaces, and Gamescom gave them resources such as this stage to my left that they can actually book for dev interviews. They have a Steam lounge that we'll check out in a second that devs can kind of relax and chill out because we know that they're probably so tired from sitting there showing people their lovely games. So let's go see what's up. There's also this area over here, which is the Indie Village and open to any indie devs. And they were telling me that there's about 30 games over there. And these games are ranging from, smaller games to games that were featured on Opening Night Live, such as Everspace 2. They even have a wall dedicated to the original artwork from some of these games. I like the raccoon. And indie devs are no strangers to the trends in video games. Here we have a breastfeeding situation. Similar, we saw Death Stranding the other night. There was also breastfeeding, and here it is in artwork on the canvas, because video games are also art. Let's keep going. The sheer magnitude of the Indie Village is incredible, especially considering that, again, this is the first time that Gamescom is featuring indie games, which is awesome. Look, the crowds are lining up, and I'm parting through them. Let's see. Ooh, I see there's one called Boyfriend Dungeon. I'll have to bookmark that. And there's not only single player experiences, but there's also multiplayer experiences, which I swear there were people sitting there right before I showed you this. Let's keep going. There are tons of single player games here today, but they also have a dedicated multiplayer area for those games that require more than one person. We have these folks playing Tiny Tanks. Ooh, who won? Looks like player one won. Good for them. Let's see. And in the multiplayer area, they make it a chill experience. They even have beer. To our right, we actually have a games jam going on that's going on until Thursday, and we're seeing games made right before our very eyes. And on this side, we've reached the Indie Village portion of the Gamescom Indie area. We even have some games that are presented in little arcade-style cabinets, housing the actual games in those units, which I think is just adorable. Oh my gosh, wait, look, there's a cat wearing headphones. That's so cute. Look at how happy I am, just with a smile on your face. So again, this is just another area in this indie arena that focuses kind of on more individual games. You can see that it's not as like compacted, but wonderful games nonetheless. Gamescom will be choosing 6 indie games to highlight even further on their indie stage, which is just so awesome. This has been the Indie Booth here at Gamescom for the first time ever. Make sure to stay tuned for more Gamescom 2019 coming at you.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Brian Altano and Max Scoville here for IGN at Gamescom now on the Gamescom show floor. We found one of the most special things here, the Kijima Productions merchandise booth with tons of new Death Stranding stuff.
Yeah, now Death Stranding, a game that we're still confused about what it's actually about and which isn't out until November, already has quite a lot of merch to go with it.
Yeah.
And Kijima Productions, their mascot, Ludens, has a lot of his own merch as well. And we don't actually know... I don't think Ludens is in the game. Like, we don't know that yet. It's possible. There's some theories.
We know his logo's on the side of Jeff Keighley's van, and this statue is available here, although you can't buy it.
I don't think this one's for sale. I believe Kojima Productions have one just like this in the lobby of their offices.
That's
this,
right.
I think, is a very limited edition thing, but there are lots of other sort of collectibles and merchandise items available here.
Let's
and
take a
some
look.
of them are kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. So, Max, I have some questions. Every time I go outside and it's raining, I get soaking wet, and there's just got to be a better way.
Well, Brian, it's great you mentioned that, because in addition to regular rain, there's also the constant threat of timefall. So luckily there's the Death Stranding umbrella, which is an actual official thing, which is absurd and ridiculous, and I'm kind of into it. As you can see, it's an umbrella. It's open indoors, which is bad luck and will inevitably invite all sorts of horrible circumstance. But if you need an umbrella, there you go.
That's
it's
right.
It's a Death Stranding umbrella.
Now, Max, as a hairless goblin of a man, I want something smaller to cover my head when it gets sunny out. What should I wear?
Well, you bald goon, you'd probably love hats. And they have all sorts of hats here, including the Bridges hat. You know, in addition to all of the beautiful Yoji Shinkawa mechanical designs and cool futuristic stuff, why not just give Norman Reedus a good old-fashioned ball cap?
That's right, and even if you don't know what that means in the video game, you can just tell people on Earth that bridges are cool because they bring the world together, and they're great to walk or drive across.
Yeah, now, speaking of walking, one great thing when you're walking is to put a thing on your feet so that they are warm, which is called socks.
That's right.
And they have Death Strandings. I can't even say this with a straight face. They
That's
have
okay.
Death Stranding
They have
here.
socks, and they have wonderful drippy patterns on them. Let's take a look at them right over here. Yeah, these are great. These are $12 or $11.99 in euro, which is a different money we don't understand yet.
Yeah, and there's stickers with all sorts of logos on them that we don't know. We don't know that's Leia Seydoux' character. I think. I don't know what the game's about. You can pee and make mushrooms grow.
Yeah. At the very least, we know the game looks really cool. Now, Max, I constantly drink water, and when I do so, I usually drink it out of my hands like a savage from the riverbed,
or I put my mouth under the sink. But there's got to be a better way.
There's this wild thing you're going to love, and it's called cups. And
What?
luckily, they have all sorts of cups here. They have a mug that, I don't know if it's actually lying around here. There's one right here. It's the Koji Pro logo mug. But there's also one that has color change handprints that show up, you know, like the ghost babies have come out of the mud to try to haunt you and kill your friends or whatever happens in the game. We don't know what the game's about. We
That's
have no
true.
idea what the game is about.
Now, Max, I have another specific problem. I have $350 burning a hole in my pocket, and I want people to constantly come up to me and ask me if I can send them or give them a spare USB key that doesn't actually work.
Well, you'll probably enjoy the Death Stranding necklace, which is 349 euro and is authentically engraved with what looks like quantum physics algorithms, and also it's from the game.
That's right.
We don't know what it does in the game, but
In the meantime, I'm constantly losing my keys and clothes, so I'd like to adorn those things with colorful patches and keychains and such. So let's take a look at them right over here.
Keychains and such. Yeah, no, so I mean, this, again, I love all the design work that's gone into these. I'm getting kind of a Sid Mead kind of like Blade Runner-esque like obsession with design here, and it's awesome. But again, we don't know what any of this stuff
That's
is.
true.
So the good news is, I guess if they're worried about Death Stranding, not selling so well, there's always the keychains.
Now, Max, every time I go outside completely topless, local school children throw rocks at my white, grotesque body. But there's got to be a way to cover it.
Well, there's a great way to conceal that hideous torso of yours, and that's using these great things called shirts, of
What?
which, of course, they have them. If they have umbrellas and socks, of course they're going to have T-shirts. They really have a lot of. They all have action figures of Ludens. They've got
That's right.
Chibi action figures of Ludens.
Mm-hmm.
They've just got a lot. It's really just a lot of
Posters,
it's really,
everything.
I don't.
Now, here's one thing at this booth that's not for sale. This is an official autographed commemorative Hideo Kojima one-of-a-kind piece. Let's take a look at it right over here. It's actually the booth itself.
The booth itself is a limited edition Death Stranding collectible. Can you get it out of here? Do you have a shelf to put it on? Well, great news, because there are actually shelves on the booth itself. The Death Stranding booth here at Gamescom.
If none of this made sense, you're going to love Death Stranding, available this fall. A confusing, gorgeous, ambitious, and weird video game that we can't wait to play.
Death Stranding.
Yeah. For all the show floor coverage here at IGN and Gamescom Now, don't go anywhere. Stay right where you are and just be as confused and as weird as we are. Thanks for watching.
Death Stranding.
Death Stranding.
Fact. IGN is better at video games than all other outlets.
All video games. Who's a good boy?
We're also the best at being incredibly humble.
I just on you, kid.
Yes. Hey, Nick, did you hear about the new Marvel news?
No, what happened? No. What happened? Hey, what happened? Tell me.
Has this ever happened to you? Good news! It doesn't have to! The Daily Fix is here every day with a concentrated dose of all that gaming, movie, TV, streaming, internet, and puppy news you need to survive the work week. All right, so puppy news isn't on it yet, but I'm working on it. Roll the thing!
Welcome back to IGN at Gamescom Now. With us today is Nate Simpson to talk about Kerbal Space Program 2, the sequel to the game that allowed you to fly rockets into the air and soar and probably explode and kill things. It went horribly for many people, but people love it. Thanks for joining us here. We also have Max
went
Scoville.
great for a lot of people. You
That's
want to
true.
crash in this game.
That's true. Not me. It's never gone well for me.
Well, it's going right if you're crashing. That's what this game is all about. It's about learning and by failing, right?
I feel like somebody's going to take that quote very far out of context.
Anyone in the community can tell you that is what this game's about, for sure.
So obviously this is the sequel to a game that a lot of people have sunk just ridiculous amounts of time into. There is a diehard rabid fan base, which has got to be kind of a terrifying situation for you to be in.
I'm one of them. I've got more than 2,000 hours in the game, so yeah, I know. And
now
I feel like I've barely scratched the surface.
Yeah. And now you're taking it one step further and making the next iteration.
Right, yeah. I actually have not tried to do the math yet on how many hours I'm going to have to sink into this game to get to explore the thing entirely myself.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I'll probably see my wife again in 2030.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the new features and new stuff you have going on in Kerbal Space Program 2?
Sure. In the original game, there's a single star system that you explore. You land on planets in that star systems. In our game, we've got new stars with new celestial bodies around them. We've kept that original Kerbaler system from the original game. We've enhanced it a little bit, but it's all there. And now we've got some new places to go explore. And in order to get there, we've had to give you some new technologies. So we've extended the tech tree to, I would say, near future plausible propulsion technologies. We've worked very closely with subject matter experts to make sure that those are as rooted in real science as the engines in the original Kerbal space program. And then in addition to that, we've enabled interstellar travel by adding a colony system that allows you to build bases on the surfaces of other planets and in orbit. And at those colonies, you can build new vessels. So that really unlocks the interstellar progression. This is no longer about just taking off from a single location. This is about spreading a civilization across multiple star systems where the cosmos is your canvas.
That's ambitious.
Yeah,
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Nate, if I close my eyes right now, you would be describing one of the most like scientific and sort of realistic games ever made, and you do have a lot of that here. But this is also goofy and fun as hell. Right. So how do you find that balance?
Well, it's the Kerbals. It's all about the Kerbals, right? Like, so I mean, if I think back to my first time playing the original Kerbal Space Program in like 2012. My first launch was this very realistic rocket sitting on the pad, and then there's little portraits in the corner with these little green folks like freaking out because they're about to be fired into space. And it's just so charming to have that presence there at all times. Otherwise, I think it would be, a fairly technical rocketry game. But with them there, it kind of prevents you from getting too serious, and it's really helpful to us in terms of making people understand that it's not only okay to fail, it's necessary to fail in order to learn what you're doing in this game, because it is a very challenging, realistic physics simulation, and the way that you conquer those kinds of obstacles is by learning by doing.
Right.
Now, you're with Star Theory, which is a separate studio from Squad, who made the original.
That's correct.
You guys have been working closely with them. Can you talk a little bit about that relationship?
Yeah, so, well, again, fan hat on, developer hat off. Like, I mean, I've been idolizing these guys for a lot of years, so it's very exciting to get to, like, run my ideas by them and see what they say. And we've had some sort of hilarious back and forth about, we really get into the details, like the relative eyes of Jeb's, or relative size of Jeb's eyes, or like, there's a lot of kind of silly stuff like that. But yes, so Private Division wanted to make sure that there was no interruption in support for the original game. There have been 2 amazing expansions that have come for the original KSP. And so while they're continuing to plug away at this, we've been spooling up on our side. But yeah, we're good friends with them. It's very exciting to be able to work on the same franchise at the same time.
That's awesome to think that both of these like experiences will coexist for a while. That's really cool.
I mean, a lot of people have a huge investment in the original game, especially around mods, right? Like, there have been a huge number of mods that have been built for the game. That's sort of the beating heart of the community, is the modders. We're actually extending the mod system for ours so that it's even more moddable, because we definitely don't want to miss a beat there. But I definitely understand the value. We want to keep the KSP1 community thriving as well. Those are 2 products that are both amazing.
That's awesome.
I want to talk a little bit about colony building and sort of how you manage to, I mean, obviously this is a game about primarily launching rockets. That's kind of the big thing. But a colony is a little bit less mobile, There's maybe not as many moving parts, and you still got to
do it right.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, that sense of failure and explosions is sort of part of the core experience. How do you sort of integrate colony building while still having that sort of that Kerbal experience?
Right. Well, so this game is first and foremost about rockets. So we wanted to make sure that the colony experience was an enabling experience as far as helping you to build newer and crazier stuff. But one of the things that we've discovered as we've been sort of playing with the system is that it's kind of Kerbal architecture program now as well. And there's a surprising amount of fun in just seeing what kind of insanity you can achieve structurally with a building, especially with our new terrain system. There's a lot more topology, there's a lot more strange landscapes with which you're interacting when you're building out these spaces. And we think people are gonna have a lot of fun doing things like building crazy. I'm in love with the idea of building the most cantilevered landing pad that I could possibly build before it snaps off, and that kind of stuff. You can see a little bit of that in the trailer as well, right? There's those colonies are subject to physics and gravity, and they have mass, and they're rigid body arrays, and they will fail if you don't build them right.
Have you run into any scenarios where you've accidentally launched your rocket and then it's come back down into your colony?
Oh, not only just launching rockets and coming back down into your colony, some of the new engines we have literally use nuclear bombs as a form of propulsion. So in the case of those kinds of vehicles, you'll want to use something else to get off the pad, or unless you want to destroy your colony for fun, don't. See what happens.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I love this. Now, obviously, you guys do have that wonderful balance of like, here's like actual rocket science, but then there's like the cartoony, goofy aspect of it. But that's like a careful kind of, that's a tightrope to walk. Like, what is sort of the style guide of what's the sort of upper reaches of like speculative fiction you can deal with here?
Well, I wrote an email, I think it was on the first day of the project, to the rest of the team that was all about like what is properly Kerbal technology and what isn't. And everything we do needs to be, obviously these things are speculative. Nobody's built a metallic hydrogen engine yet, so we're having to do a certain amount of invention. But no warp drives, no warp gates, no magic technology, right? No M drives. So this at its heart, this game's always rooted in real science because we want people to be inspired to like go to Wikipedia after they play the game and be like, well, that was insane. That can't be a real thing. And then they look it up and they're like, oh, we would be flying around the solar system right now if it weren't for the Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. And so that's the kind of thing that we want people to get out of.
I think this series might be the smartest educational software that's also about blowing stuff up. It's just like a really rare combination of things there.
Never call us educational software, because we want people to want to, it's fun first and foremost, but you're right, it's accidentally educational. I didn't come with a subject matter expert background when I first started playing the game, but just over the course of playing the game, I started learning the fundamentals of orbital mechanics, things like that. And now look at me, I'm talking to you about nuclear bomb rockets. So that's the first step on a path to really exploring a whole new area of the universe.
I really appreciate that as somebody who's like terrible in school, because like most people would be like, hey, would you like to learn? And you're like, no, learning's for losers. And then they'd show you something cool, and they'd be like, you learned something. You'd be like, yeah, that's great, awesome.
I'll give you an exclusive. I am horrifically math phobic.
Really?
Yeah, and so
am I. That makes me feel really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's not Kerbal math program, right? You're learning by doing. Although people who do have that impulse, it turns out they can go real deep into delta V calculations and things like that, and that's all there too. But there's something for us as well.
Explosions is a thing everybody in the world likes the concept of in the film. They don't probably like them in the real world, but your game has lots of them and will continue to.
Yeah.
How do you create explosions in a video game that are awesome and terrifying and fun?
We've had some really exciting meetings. First of all, we've watched way too many rocket explosion videos, like an unhealthy amount of rocket failures. And there are lots of them, because rockets are really unreliable. They're right on the bleeding edge of technology. But because we have such a diversity of fuel types, I mean, think about it. We have an engine that, in its fuel tank, is full of tiny atomic bombs. So when that fuel tank is ruptured, you're going to have a big event, and it's going to be a unique event. And that's really what it comes down to. Every part type has its own explosion type that's associated with it, and we want every explosion to be as unique as every vehicle is. So yeah, the vehicle failures are, everyone's a beautiful snowflake. No two are alike.
Now you mentioned briefly sort of showing this to different experts and getting getting actual rocket scientists to chime in on this.
Right.
Have you talked to have you shown this to anybody we wouldn't expect? Have you shown this to Neil deGrasse Tyson, Elon Musk, anything like that?
I mean, I'm waiting for their calls. Hopefully, if this game does well enough, they'll want to talk about it. We do have a subject matter expert on the James Webb Space Telescope team. His name's Dr. Joel Green. And he's
we do too. That's awesome.
Oh,
no,
nice.
I'm just kidding. We definitely
Are you guys buddies with Joel? He knows everybody. Yeah, so he's been our consultant around celestial bodies and things like that to make sure, again, that they're rooted in real science as well.
This is such a cool sentence that you have a consultant on celestial bodies.
Yeah, I just flew out to Maryland to hang out with him, and it was one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life.
God, that's so awesome.
Well, that is wild.
Yeah. When can people start blowing stuff up in this game? Look at that explosion right there. I can't look away from it.
Yep, that's one of them.
Yeah, when can people play?
Spring 2020 is our release date. So we got a lot of work to do, but yeah, we're very excited.
Sweet, and you're shooting for PC, PS4, and Xbox One?
Yeah, PC in spring 2020, and then PS4 and Xbox One will be a little bit later, but yeah.
Great. Cool. Awesome. Well, Nate, thank you so much, man. I cannot wait to play this game.
Me either.
I'm still stunned at like the amount of people you have working on this who are way smarter than I could ever understand. And it's good to hear that you're math phobic, because that makes me feel like I can achieve stuff in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, Kerbal Space Program 2, you'll be able to play it very soon. It's just one of the many games here at Gamescom. IGN at Gamescom now continues all week long, so don't go anywhere.
Gamescom has all of the video games that you could want, but what if you are just overwhelmed by the massive crowds and you want to get away for a second? We are here at Hedis' booth, and I'm here with Renee, inventor of Hedis, and IGN Germany's Adil. Hello. So, Renee, can you give us kind of a lowdown? What are the rules? How do we play this?
So basically Hedis is a quite simple game. You just play it in a ping pong table, you got a different net, and for sure you got a different ball, a nice rubber ball, and you play with your head. That's the basic rule. So you can touch the table, you can jump onto the table, but basically you play like ping pong.
Okay, perfect. Well, Adil, are you ready to get some Hedis on?
Sure, always, anytime.
Let's do this. Which honestly was kind of more like noses for me because I hit it with my nose almost every time, but that's fine, I'm just not very good at it. Anyways, we are about to play Hesher Ball, which also I think was invented by you, Renee?
We created the game how it is now, but the idea is by a school friend of mine, Zed.
Whoa, name dropping, you have cool friends.
Yeah, we grew up together, so.
So how do you play Hesher Ball?
You play it with your hand, and you have two balls, and you always have to use the same one, and one has to keep on rolling, and you gotta hit the hole.
All right, well, sounds easy enough, but I thought that about Hedis. Either way, I know we'll have fun, so Adil, round two, let's go. You are a worthy opponent. And Renee, thank you so much for showing us your games. For more Gamescom 2019, it's coming right at you.
Fact, IGN is better at video games than all other outlets.
All video games. Who's a good boy?
We're also the best at being incredibly humble.
I just on you, kid.
I got
Yes! Introducing the all-new Up It Nude! Up It Nude's new and improved recipe is chock full of lists, let's plays, unboxings, special guests, goofs, guffaws, and other content too stupid for regular weekdays.
Like some sort of color-changing reptile stripper man. I'm doing it. Don't touch it. What's wrong with you? Get corn snack. Game sucks. Bring it back.
Up at Noon, weekends on IGN and YouTube.
Welcome back. This is IGN at Gamescom. Now, since the dawn of time, or really just a long time ago, sharks have been universally known as pretty much the coolest thing in the ocean. And Maneater is a game where a shark goes around and bites people and boats and turtles and all sorts of other stuff, and I'm very excited about it. Here to talk about it, I'm joined by Brian Altano, fellow shark enthusiast, John Gibson, and Jared Creasy from Tripwire Interactive. Maneater! Let's talk about it.
Yes, thanks for having us here to talk about a game where you are a shark and you eat people.
This is like Grand Theft Shark. Is that a fair thing to call it?
You know,
there are no laws in the sea, really.
There are no laws in the sea. You know, it's a shark PG. Some people call it Shark Cry.
Ooh, that one's good.
This keeps getting better.
Yeah. So how did this come about, aside from it being like a completely obvious idea for a game that would be fun to play?
So
being a shark.
Yeah. So we were working with the team at Blindside Games on Maneater. We were going to publish the game. And we decided, this game is going to be so awesome. Tripwire needs to take this game on whole hog and bring it in-house and make it. But really, who doesn't want to play a game as a shark?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I mean, I played Echo the Dolphin when I was a kid, and he didn't do any of this stuff because he was sweet. He was a dolphin. He's not a vicious beast underneath the sea. I have some technical questions about how the animal interacts with the world here, such as, I saw for a second he was on a dock there. How long can you stay on the land?
So there's a very limited time that you can be out of the water, like you can reach out onto a beach, onto a dock, onto a boat, but through maybe some evolutionary choices you make, you can extend that time.
Oh, okay. Second question, I see some buildings in the background. If you create enough evolutionary choices, will you be able to enter them?
No, you will not be able to reach
You don't
the
get
buildings.
a day job in an office in this game.
You don't, get out of the sea at the end of the day, get in your car, drive back home.
Look, I have to do my part in journalism and ask these questions. This is part of it.
Can the shark go in the buildings? That's a great question.
Yeah, that is a
awesome job. No, now you're calling this a shark PG, and you're talking about like evolutionary traits. Let's talk a little bit about sort of the skill trees, and like, I'm guessing you have to like level the shark up so that he can do like a roundhouse kick on the sea turtles. Is that correct? Something?
Yeah,
like that?
absolutely. So like what you just saw was for the first time ever, you saw the baby shark. We've never shown that before. And in most RPGs, you're leveling up your character. There's a number that's getting bigger. In Maneater, when you level up your shark gets bigger. And then you can do some really cool things like...
So as you go through the game, you'll be eating things and you'll be finding some parts to an evolution, so to speak. And some of those you'll just find naturally along the way as you progress through the story. Others are more optional, which you'll see like later in this demo, you fight some bounty hunters who come out and try and take you away because you've been terrorizing the local populations. If you fight
As they do.
Yeah.
If you decide to take on those bounty hunters instead of running away, you'll get some special evolutionary choices that you won't otherwise get. You can then go back to an area we call the grotto and decide what you want to do, how you want to sort of spec out your shark.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the sort of the world we're in here. This is clearly a very polluted ocean. There's kind of like futuristic stuff going on in the background. I don't spend a lot of time in the actual ocean, but I hear it's incredibly polluted. Can you talk a bit about sort of why the humans in this world need to be eaten so badly?
Yeah. So the shark is kind of an environmentalist. In his environment, the humans they're killing off his food, they're polluting the area. So he's just kind of cleaning up the area. But he also, early in the game, our player shark was disfigured by an evil shark hunter. So she needs to grow, get bigger, so she can get her revenge.
She's got a bit of a vendetta, and that's really going to set the story and drive it along.
By the way, I just want to point out, we were just in a place called Snitch Lake where a bunch of dead bodies were.
Somebody's got a little bit of a snitch problem if you look up there on the hill. It's a
Oh my
small problem,
God.
but they're working on it.
That was a truck full of corpses.
Are you sure? Did you
Oh my
check?
God.
I didn't look. I don't know.
There's a lot going on here. Whoa!
Oh!
Yes!
Okay, so we were going to ask about the other animals that the shark can fight. Let's talk about them. That was a big sewer crocodile, alligator.
So you're not the only predator in these waters. And as you move along the game, there are actually 7 apex predators that are controlling the 7 major regions that you'll be exploring. And as you go through the game, you might be chowing down on their favorite food. If you do that enough, you're going to draw them out because they're a little bit cranky.
Wow. That's awesome. So they're almost sort of like mini bosses that live in the world, or actual bosses.
Absolutely.
Did you guys spend time with sharks? Did you go shark diving? Did you, like, how are you getting the realism here? Like, did you mocap a shark? Is that possible?
There's a joke around the studio. We had our mocap actor put on a shark suit.
That's awesome.
And then flop around on the ground. But no, we didn't mocap a shark. But what we did do, we did have team members that went out and did the shark cage diving thing, where sharks are coming out and biting the tank. And we have some real just shark fanatics in the studio.
Fanatics?
Fanatics.
That's
yes.
good. That's really good.
Our lead character artist is such a shark fan. His wedding cake was a shark.
Oh my God.
That's badass.
That rules.
Now, obviously, like sharks, like they have a bad reputation. Like it's kind of a bummer, honestly, and like because they are, they're apex predators, but they also they're not They're not actually really trying to go out and kill everybody. This shark has a pretty good reason to, because look at the state of this water. How do you justify this sort of? I mean, it is very much like a violent video game about being a shark and killing people. How do you justify that to sort of shark apologists or shark activists, sharktivists?
Well, throughout the game, because you are watching, the gameplay itself is presented through the lens of a reality TV show, Shark Hunters versus Maneater, and the narrator of that show is voiced by none other than Chris Parnell. And along the way, he's commenting on what our player shark is doing. And some of those things are, hey, sharks rarely attack humans. When it does, it's an aberration. That's not meant to happen. Or, you know, sharks sometimes confuse humans with seals. They take a bite to find out why. So there is some actual fun shark facts that you are told along the way.
Which may or may not be true.
I can dig that, yeah.
Really, in the game, you see the cruelty, and you won't see it on screen right now, but you see the cruelty of the shark hunters. On this reality show, that sort of pans out that the shark hunters are out there, you know, they've been paid to sort of clean up the area, so they're indiscriminately killing sharks. And so really the shark is not evil so much as they really are just trying to protect their territory.
Now, can you get any sort of like cosmetic attachments to your shark, like lasers?
There are no laser attachments to your shark, but one of the things we're working on as part of our evolution system is what we're calling skin sets.
Or evolution sets.
Evolution sets. And the shark can sort of spec out in ways beyond what nature has intended. And the three we've been focusing on are what we're calling the bone set, our electro set, and our stealth set. And that will change fundamentally the way our shark looks away from a natural shark and give them some powers and bonuses that are a little bit more special.
I love that because it sounds like 90s Batman action figures. That's the best.
You guys are doing a really good job of kind of walking the fine line between swimming the fine line between you know, a sort of realistic looking game and then a game where a shark can literally jump out of the water and do flips. How do you sort of find that balance between making something that is like, you know, kind of grounded and realistic but also kind of insane as hell?
Well, it is a shark, but it's a shark plus, right? And there's a lot of extra things that the shark can do because, you know, just swimming around and eating people is very fun, but we wanted to take it to another level.
And I think that's been a key in a lot of our games where they've been very grounded in reality from the get-go with like Red Orchestra. But once we got to Killing Floor, we're like, what happens when we add in a bit more? What if we take it to the next level? Keep it grounded, but what's next? How do we fantasticize it, if you will? And I think our player shark here, we've done that to a great degree through a lot of iteration, and we're continuing to do that in the studio every day.
Now, this seems like a very big open world. How does the world connect? Like, how big is it? How long does it take to swim across it?
I don't know if anybody outside of a couple of the QA have actually timed out how long it takes them to get around, though they are talking about doing some races to see who can do it the fastest.
Oh, that's awesome. What, 7 regions?
7 major regions that represent 7 very distinct areas. The color of the water is different. The quality of the water is different. The wildlife you'll see is different. And as you go through the regions, you'll notice the tonal change, both in the wildlife and the colors, and there is quite a lot to explore there.
And there's, you know, there is open ocean, there are swamps, there's this polluted area.
There's fine resorts with sandy beaches and wonderful tasty meat sacks laying there to be eaten.
We will allow the player, we're not really, for the most part, it's not linear. So the player, if they want to go swim out into the open ocean and face some things that might be way bigger than them, they can. So you're kind of gated by your skill level. You know, if you can wait until you evolve to go out and take on those challenges, but you can go pretty much anywhere.
Wow! So you can
the water.
You can go challenge something that's way too big for you, and it'll kill you.
Yes. Or if you're very, very
swallow
skilled.
You whole.
So like shark souls.
Shark souls.
Yeah.
There it is.
I've heard that one before too.
Hell yeah.
Now, are there different areas, or is it sort of clearly labeled that some are like, this is the scary nightmare area where you're going to get your ass kicked if you're low level, or is it kind of like you got to figure that out for yourself?
A little bit figure it out for yourself. Like if you follow the story, it will take you along a natural progression path. But at any time, you can choose to break out of either some soft barricades or no barricades at all and just take your own path through the water and find out what's out there. And as John mentioned, there's a whole deep ocean that's full of secrets and wonderful things to explore. You can decide to take that on at the beginning of the game, or you could save all those secrets till the end.
Working on this game, are you guys more afraid of sharks now or less afraid of sharks?
Probably less afraid.
I feel like that's a bad attitude to have. No one should ever be less afraid of sharks.
See, for me, because I pay attention to shark attacks more now, since we're making a shark game, I get a little more afraid because when I start to see, oh wow, there really are shark attacks happening on the Gulf Coast.
Well, because you probably love your arms.
But more people died in cows every year.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the cool way to avoid the shark is just to not go in the ocean where he's, just...
Or on the boat or the
yeah,
beach or
just
really
stay
anywhere.
like a good distance away and hope he's not really high level so he can like flip out and get you. When can people get their fins on Maneater?
Thank you.
When can people...
They'll be able to sink their teeth into Maneater before E3 next year.
Ooh, that's so good.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming by. I'm dying to check it out. Coming up in just a little bit, we have Darksiders Genesis. That is a new take on Darksiders, which is much more dungeon crawly than you might be used to. IGN at Gamescom Now will continue in just a little bit. We'll be right back.
Hey, Nick, did you hear about the new Marvel news?
No, what happened? No. What happened? Hey, what happened? Tell me.
Has this ever happened to you? Good news! It doesn't have to! The Daily Fix is here every day with a concentrated dose of all that gaming, movie, TV, streaming, internet, and puppy news you need to survive the work week. All right, so puppy news isn't on it yet, but I'm working on it. Roll the thing!
Reggie Fils-Aimé is retiring.
Eagle-eyed fans are combing through every last frame.
I came prepared.
Oh.
Stay right here on IGN.
And keep it locked to IGN.
IGN Now. New news that's new to you. Introducing the all-new Up It News.
Don't touch it. What's wrong with you? Get corn snack. Game sucks. Bring it back.
Up at noon. Weekends on IGN and YouTube.
Welcome back to IGN at Gamescom Now. For quite some time now, the Darksiders franchise has been going strong, and with Darksiders Genesis, it's getting a bit of a twist. Here is everything we know about Darksiders Genesis. Let's take a look.
Darksiders Genesis brings a new perspective to the near-decade-old hack-and-slash series as it moves from a third-person action-adventure to a top-down Diablo-style action RPG. Ahead of the spin-offs released later this year, here's everything we know about Darksiders Genesis. Darksiders Genesis stars two of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, War and Strife, and takes place before the events of Darksiders 1. The Demon King Lucifer has been quote-unquote plotting to upset the balance by granting power to master demons throughout hell, and the two horsemen have been tasked with stopping them. It's a story that, according to Joe Madureira, CEO of developer Airship Syndicate, in an interview with VentureBeat, will take about 15 hours to complete. Co-op is a big focus in Genesis, but those playing solo will be able to switch between the two horsemen on the fly, allowing players to alternate between the melee stylings of War and the ranged combat of Strife. As mentioned earlier, the developer is Airship Syndicate, a 40-person studio based in Texas that previously developed Battle Chasers Night War, which we gave an 8.0 and called a skillfully modernized rendition of retro JRPG goodness. Genesis is set to release towards the end of 2019 on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, PC, and Google Stadia for $40. But there's also a collector's edition which costs $120 and includes the game, a 9-inch tall Strife figurine, art book, official soundtrack, steelbook, and stickers. For the superfan and board game enthusiast, there's also the limited Nephilim edition, along with Darksiders The Forbidden Land board game for $380. And that's all we currently know about Darksiders Genesis. For everything else Darksiders Genesis and more, keep it here on IGN.
What's up, everybody? Destin Legary here with IGN at Gamescom 2019. I'm here at the Darksiders booth because there are some absolutely stellar cosplayers here today that have created costumes that look like they're straight out of the game. Let's go talk to them. We're going to start with Strife. Now, Strife, as you can see, I can't talk to the mic to him, so you've agreed to be interviewed and tell us a little bit about the costume design. So how did you make this fantastic costume?
We made it in about 4 weeks. It was really crazy, and it's basically made out of silicone, and most of it is 3D printed. we modeled a lot of 3D modeled a lot of stuff and 3D printed it and sanded it and painted it and everything. And yeah, it was crazy 4 weeks.
Yuri, why don't you tell me a little bit about how you crafted your costume all in this week?
It's actually a combination of a lot of techniques, mainly foam and 3D printing. And it took me about like 1 or 2 months to make.
Is your hair, do you dye your hair? Is it a wig? How do you do that?
Every day I wake up and dye my hair like this. No, it's a wig, it's a big wig, and it's really important to take good care about it, so yeah.
What about the makeup, because of the eyeliner and everything that you have to do to, fit the character, obviously. How long does that take to do, in the contacts?
It takes 1 hour to make the makeup. I actually have some practice doing it. When I first did it, it was around 2 hours to make.
Wow, your costume's absolutely phenomenal. Good work. How long, the wings are a big highlight, obviously, of the piece that you've created. How long did they take to develop?
Oh, I think for the wings it was about 6 weeks. For the whole costume it was about 3 months. Yeah, short 3 months with no sleep.
6 weeks just on the wings. How do you get the lights in each individual feather, we'll call them, to illuminate in this way?
I have those LED stripes and I added them around the edges, and then I filled it up with butter to diffuse them more, and then I dremeled down the edges.
This is so cool. So tell me about this piece, because you can actually make fists inside.
Yeah, it's a really big highlight of this costume, because the hand is actually really big, and I didn't want it just a big, and wanted some cool effect inside, so I made the fingers movable. I designed I designed these dead pieces, and yeah, it actually worked. I can show you how it looks like inside.
Yeah, sure. We're gonna take the glove off, take a look on the inside in just a second, while she's working on. Oh, all right.
Yeah, and that's how it looks like inside the glove. So yeah, it's quite cool.
So you built this pulley system to...
Yes.
The hardest piece was definitely the muscle suit, because... Yes, exactly. Because the whole body was first cast, and then it was hand sculpted and cast in silicone rubber. So there went a lot of work into this. And all the other parts are 3D printed, some handcrafted foam parts.
Can I squeeze the muscles? Yeah? Okay. Oh, you've been working out, man. Good work.
It was like 5 minutes ago this morning, so been working quite hard.
This is really neat. I asked the other creators, what was the thing that held you up when you're putting it on the most?
Basically the feel and the look I get when I'm all dressed up, and it's the reactions of the people, because they're all amazed, because most of them can't really believe to see something like that in the real world.
Yeah, it's really cool. It looks like it's right out of the game. How long does it take you to get into?
It takes about 20 to 30 minutes.
All right, well, wow, thank you so much. This is absolutely incredible. Guys, for more on Darksiders and all things Gamescom 2019, keep it right here with us at IGN.
Reggie Fils-Aimé is retiring.
Eagle-eyed fans are combing through every last frame. I can't prepare.
Oh.
Stay right here on IGN.
And keep it locked to IGN.
IGN Now. New news that's new to you. Introducing the all-new Up-It News!
Don't touch it. What's wrong with you? Get corn snack. Game sucks. Bring it back.
Up at noon, weekends on IGN and YouTube.
Fact. IGN is better at video games than all other outlets.
All video games. Who's a good boy?
We're also the best at being incredibly humble.
I just on you, kid.
Yes, yes.
Welcome back to IGN at Gamescom Now. Joining me to discuss Darksiders Genesis is Airship Syndicate's Billy Garrettson. So tell me, for all the folks at home who are unaware, what is Darksiders Genesis?
Darksiders Genesis is the next installment in the Darksiders franchise. It's actually a prequel to the entire thing. We like to call it like the Rogue One to Star Wars, but in the Darksiders universe, because the events of Darksiders Genesis lead right up to the beginning of Darksiders 1. It's a great injection point for like new players to the series, but also fans who have played the other ones are going to get a lot of kind of, I guess, context and fill in all the blanks of the things that led up to the apocalypse.
So we have to do a little bit of a clarification here because when I first saw the game, the isometric camera angle, the kind of medieval aesthetic, it all just pointed to action RPG in my mind, but it's not as much as it is an isometric action game, correct? So what is happening in this game in terms of loot, in terms of progression, things like that?
Sure, so this is a Darksiders game. It's not just a dungeon crawler, hack and slash, go to one room, clear the enemies, go to another room, clear the enemies. The three pillars of Darksiders have always been combat, puzzle solving, and exploration, and all those are on display in Genesis. Yeah, we have kind of a, I mean, every Darksiders game has taken a risk. You know, Darksiders 2 from 1 kind of changed the structure of the game and it became open, and 3 from 2 was also a lot more kind of focused on you know, kind of single encounter combat. And so it's kind of in the nature of a Darksiders game to have a different spin or some sort of big risk. And so our take on that is we just came off of developing Battle Chasers Night War, which is a dungeon crawler, turn-based RPG, and so we kind of developed all these world-building skills from that game, and we said, well, what can we do with that skill set in the Darksiders universe with a real-time action model? And so it kind of started from there, but it was never meant to be a different type of game. It was always a Darksiders game. So there's platforming, there is exploration. There's so many secret and side areas that are basically your rewards for exploration. So again, it's not just a straightforward combat game.
One of my favorite things about an isometric camera angle in any game is the idea that you're forcing players to look at the ground, and I think that is really, really good when it comes to combat and telegraphs, having to dodge things. So tell me about the combat and how it differs from conventional Darksiders games.
Well, that's a great point. Like, you know, from this fixed camera angle, it means that we can do things that you really couldn't do effectively from the other camera systems in the other games, right? So that's right. We have a lot more abilities on display, and this game is a lot more about managing up-close encounters with War's moveset, and then ranged abilities with Strife's moveset. And yeah, so we are able to kind of like communicate. I mean, being the UX guy, right? It's all about giving you feedback to let you know when you're doing well and what to do next and when to dodge and stuff. And so you're right in that we're able to telegraph things to the player that get them. Basically, it rewards them for paying attention and then having the reflexes to kind of maneuver around the combat encounters.
Which feels really good when you can pull it off. So you mentioned Strife, you mentioned War. Those are the two playable classes at launch.
Yeah.
Tease, maybe. We'll see. Anyway, but...
Not saying anything.
So tell me about how they differ in terms of play style. You mentioned range, you mentioned melee,
okay, well,
what else?
This is the first time you've ever been able to play as Strife, right? So Strife has been in the other games in some capacity, either teased or actually in the storyline of Darksiders 3, for instance. But this is the first time that you've actually been able to play as him. And it's very much his game. So War's along for the ride, and War does have some growth, but it's really kind of Strife's injection point. And Strife, he's a very different character. You know, he asks a lot of questions. He questions the motivations of the Charred Council and why the Horsemen are having to do all these things. I won't say too much because it's got a really good story and I don't want to spoil anything. But the combat side of how Strife plays in it, he's a gun wielder, right? But not exclusively. He does have blades for up-close encounters, but he is spec'd more to be able to kind of control the battle from the peripheral, right? But if I could say, this game, it's one thing to say that this game is a single-player or co-op game, but regardless of what mode you're playing, it's a two-character game.
Gotcha.
So War and Strife are constantly in the mix the whole way through, whether you're playing solo or with a friend. Yeah, and And I want to say that the flow of the game is really about kind of choosing which character to use, not just for encounters, but also puzzles, because each one has their own unique gear abilities as well. And that's where the puzzles come in. You use gear to solve puzzles in order to progress through the main game or find a bunch of side content.
Let's talk about those. Let's talk about the puzzles and the platforming. In terms of complexity, what are we looking at here? Is this like Myst, or is this a little bit faster than that, maybe a little bit more exploration and mobility based?
I'd say there's definitely logic puzzles, right? Fans of the series, we have some returning puzzle elements. For instance, we have like these bomb growths. They're like bombs that you can pick up that are kind of on the ground, and then you throw them, and then they kind of stick to the wall, and you can kind of create these organic kind of chain combos so that when one blows up, it kind of triggers the next one, triggers the next one. So we have certain puzzles that are very freeform, where it's like, hey, yeah, of course you have to blow this thing up, but how you do it is kind of up to you, what configuration you've managed, and it's not always the same. And that's what's really fun about the way we've approached co-op. This isn't just a game that you can switch between single player or co-op play, and it's pretty much the same layout. We've actually tailored the combat encounters as well as the puzzles to change based on which mode you're playing. So you're not going to see the same puzzles in co-op the way that you see in single player, right? And that's because we wanted to make sure that regardless of what mode you're playing this game in, you're having the most fun and getting, I guess, the most out of your shared gear sets.
Right.
Yeah.
In terms of co-op and kind of forcing both players to be on the screen at the same time, or at least jumping between them, does that lend itself to like any really, really bespoke co-op mechanics, like things that you can only do with 2 players or 2 characters?
Right. Well, aside from those puzzles that I described that could only be solved with 2 players,
right.
We do incentivize. I guess we have a mechanic. It's called synergy, and so when you're playing in proximity, it's almost like brothers being back to back.
Yeah, sure.
We gamified that by basically giving you a little bit of a meter, and once that meter is full, you do get to pull off essentially like a very, very powerful special ability that is unique to synergy, and each character has their own, and it kind of does kind of a screen clearing effect. So it's a good like get out of trouble mechanic.
Sure. Talk me through the full suite of combat, from kind of the basic attacks, moving on to like the really, really heavy hitting stuff like the chaos.
Right. So fans of the series are gonna like feel right at home with this. Like War from this in Darksiders Genesis feels like War from Darksiders 1. We wanted to retain his feel. And all the Darksiders games feature wrath abilities. So those are kind of like your special moves that consume wrath power. And over the game, you do find upgrades that increase your wrath meter so that you can pull off more at a time before you deplete all your meter. But both characters have their own wrath power. So all of kind of War's abilities are kind of meant to increase his capabilities up close, while Strife's wrath abilities are really tailored for like a lot of rerouting and deception, and kind of like, again, controlling the battle from the exterior. For instance, he could drop a shadow clone of himself that stands in place and basically acts as a turret, while then he can maneuver around the enemy and hit him from the other side. And in terms of other abilities, we do have the chaos meter, which is returning from the series.
Yeah.
And War, you're gonna see his familiar chaos form, but Strife, for the first time, we're looking at it right now on screen there. You see that like mecha looking thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Strife's chaos form too.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty OP as well. Like, we're having a lot of fun at the studio right now, tuning it. Like, are we going to make it fun, or are we going to, and flashy, or are we going to make it balanced? And we're kind of like, well, let's maybe let the player have a good time,
Maybe a little bit OP. Yeah, I really like what's happening aesthetically. I always have in the Darksiders franchise. There's kind of this xenomorph, love, death, robots thing happening, and then there's like almost a Balrog thing. We're seeing a little bit of mobility gameplay here.
Sure.
I want to talk about, though, boss mechanics, because the demo that I saw at E3 was spectacular. It was multi-layered. It was intricate. It was kind of this greed,
I'm talking
Goblin,
the Scrooge McDuck guy.
Yeah, exactly. So talk me through that fight, all the various mechanics, and the layer of complexity.
That boss encounter is the first boss of the game, right? So it's pretty early in the game. So by then, you're still pretty early in your gear capabilities and stuff. So we really focus on combat, but it does test all of your combat, your blocking, your dashing, your meter management, all that stuff. And the way his mechanics work are, he starts off pretty simple enough, and then he'll go into his gold pile and he'll pop up somewhere else. And so if you stay still during this battle, you're going to be in big trouble. You're not going to survive, right? So not only are we training you to be able to move and maneuver around, but as the battle progresses, he keeps summoning magical artifacts, and each one creates a different, I guess, combat challenge for the boss encounter, and by the end of it, it is just absolute mayhem. There's just bullets flying everywhere, and like there's ads coming at you.
There's a giant hammer. The one thing I really liked is the coffin. I love choices in that, so you can choose to destroy the coffin, stop skeletons from spawning, or you can kind of use them as a healing mechanic.
Yeah, you can totally farm those ads.
Let's talk about progression. So we don't necessarily have like loot in a Diablo sense, but there is some kind of progression in Darksiders Genesis.
Yeah, you bet. Aside from, I guess, what fans are expecting, like you can pick up, health stones, wrath stones, abyssal armor, which will permanently increase your health meter and permanently increase your wrath power. Enemies can drop a new thing for the series. They're called creature cores. So every enemy has a unique creature core, and they slot into our skill tree. So when you think of a skill tree in a lot of other games, all the upgrades on the tree are in fixed positions, right? Now you have choice, right? You can choose, use your skill points to kind of, go through different paths to get to the ones you want. But ultimately, by the end of the game, you've unlocked the tree, and there's nothing dynamic about it, right? Ultimately, there's not like a lot of choice. So we have this philosophy for freedom. We want you to be able to kind of like modify your character capabilities kind of to fit your needs. So imagine a skill tree with a bunch of slots everywhere, and a creature core can fit in a slot, but you get to choose where they go, and then the configuration of creature cores that you put into this tree is kind of up to you. And the creature cores give you unique buffs. So some will do something small, like, hey, they'll increase your attack ability by 1%, right? The more common ones do very small statistical boosts. But there's one in particular, it's the Hellhound. And when he drops his creature core, if you socket it into your tree, there's a chance every single time you damage an enemy that you're going to spawn a Hellhound minion that fights on your behalf next to you, right? Which is, again, a first for the series. We've never really had kind of like support characters and things like that, and it fundamentally changes how you play the game.
Well, that's interesting, because that feels like it would be, kind of analogous to a legendary effect in another game like that. We're running a little bit short on time, but I do want to talk about horse combat. You mentioned it earlier to me. It's something you're revealing at Gamescom. Tell me about it.
Yeah, you bet. So the level is not the dungeons are not the only exploration areas. The areas that lead into the dungeons are overworld and very open, and during those portions you can summon your horse. So War can summon Ruin, and Strife can summon Mayhem. Is new to the series is Strife's horse, so we get to finally meet Strife's horse. And when you're on horseback, you have new movement capabilities, and you have a custom combat set, right? So there's a melee and a ranged attack that both horsemen can use, and there are horseback specific combat encounters. There's some really exciting ones that I won't spoil today, but trust me, the horse factors into this game in a big way.
Fantastic. Billy, thank you so much for giving us a look at Darksiders Genesis. You can find out more about Darksiders Genesis on IGN, but don't go anywhere. We've got Dark Crystal coming up on IGN at Gamescom now. Stick around.
Hey everybody, Destin Laguerre here live at Gamescom 2019, and I'm really excited because we got the Session Community Manager to show us a new feature that's coming to Session. Session, if you don't know, is the spiritual successor to Skate, and what they're showing us is a replay tool for the game. Let's go check it out. So I'm here with Nick from Creature Studios, and Nick, you're getting a really sick run right now in Session. Thank you so much for showing us the game a little bit.
You're welcome, man. It's good to show it off, finally get it out in the wild to the public to see.
So, spoilers, you're not actually playing right now. Why don't you reveal the UI and show us what you're actually doing?
The replay editor, it's all part of the Session experience where you can get a line. When you get those sick tricks, you get those lines, you can rewind time and rewatch them and record them.
It's really cool. So why don't we get it when you hit that railing, and let's pause it right there and see what you can do once you get a shot. Okay, so you got a pretty slick shot there. It looks like you're able to manipulate the camera. Can you go free camera and get like a really good angle for photographs?
Yes, you can indeed. You can go down, you can hide that UI, and you can get that sweet angles. You can go from any angle that you'd like, anywhere you want. It's complete free roaming camera.
That's pretty cool. What do you imagine that the community is going to do with this? As the community manager, what would you like to see more than anything?
Content of just everyone's clips just coming, bombarding us, and just seeing everyone shred Session to pieces pretty much. Just absolutely have at it.
So this is an early version of the tool, correct? An early version of the game even.
Completely. It's still like under development. It's still, things are still being worked on.
Straight through the needle, yeah. We knew you were doing that all slick for us. Thank you so much. Yeah, so later on, can you bring up the tool, the UI again? Are you going to have any social integration so people can just like put it right on Twitter? Do you think they'll be able to do that?
I don't know. It's always been the plan. We'll just have to see.
Let's try and get one more shot and just sort of mess. Can I try it out? You can try it out. All right. Let me try it out. And you take the mic.
Take the mic. I'm in control. Stick it.
If I'm talking and you're like,
not my mouth.
How do I rewind?
If you hold the trigger.
Yeah.
It starts rewinding.
Okay. And then.
Moving the analog sticks. Yeah.
Got it. Oh, he's quick. And how do I move it faster? The camera, is that a thing?
No. Not as of yet. It's still under development and stuff.
So here's a really good kickflip. You know, that's what I don't know skateboarding that well. Kickflip, am I right?
Frontside flip.
Okay.
So you're spinning frontside and doing kickflip.
Got it. So let's just like get a really cool shot there, and like if I wanted to tweet this, how would I hide the UI there? Why?
Hide the UI, then you can just do if you're playing on PC, you'll be able. If you're playing on PC, you'll just be able to take a screenshot. Yeah. If you're playing on Xbox, it's just Xbox take a picture, right?
Yeah. Like just Xbox record that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so cool. That's how you hide the UI. You can move the camera all around. This is really, really neat. I hope you get a ton of great gameplay footage for Session, and people are actually really excited for this. They see it as a spiritual successor to Skate. I know I'm stoked. I like the realism aspect. How excited are you guys?
Super excited. We just wanted to like capture the essence of like pure raw skateboarding and what it's actually like to skate in the real world in a video game.
So that was a look at a really, really powerful tool coming to Session when it releases. I really, really hope they get that social integration so that I can see all your sick tricks from the game when it launches. Thank you so much for watching. For more on all things gaming, keep it with IGN live at Gamescom 2019.
Fact. IGN is better at video games than all other outlets.
All video games. Who's a good boy?
We're also the best at being incredibly humble.
I just on you, kid.
I got him.
Yes. Hey, Nick, did you hear about the new Marvel news?
No, what happened? What happened? Hey, what happened? Tell me.
Has this ever happened to you? Good news! It doesn't have to! The Daily Fix is here every day with a concentrated dose of all that gaming, movie, TV, streaming, internet, and puppy news you need to survive the work week. All right, so puppy news isn't on it yet, but I'm working on it. Roll the thing!
Welcome back to IGN at Gamescom now. The Dark Crystal, the classic 80s movie, is not only getting a brand new Netflix show, it's also getting a brand new video game. Here to tell us about the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance tactics, I'm joined by David Whitfield and Chris Lee and my colleague Brian Altano.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hey, how's it going? What's up, guys?
So, yeah, the Dark Crystal suddenly kind of back. And it not just in TV show, Netflix TV show form, it's also a tactics-based video game. How did this come together?
So at the very beginning, we're developing the show, and we had just sort of started exploring how do we build out consumer products within Netflix as well. And it felt like this universe that they've created, that the Jim Henson Company like brought to life in an incredibly ambitious way, just was ripe for a video game. We have different characters, a fantasy setting, and the nostalgia factor. And so we started talking, and I think there was interest there to make a game.
Now, how closely have you guys been working with the Henson Company to get the feel of this just right?
Yeah, it's been a really great partnership actually. So we had the opportunity to go down with members of the development team, Bonus XP, down to Henson Studios and the Creature Shop, and we kind of showed some early footage of the game and played through a little bit. We got to go to the Creature Shop and look at the puppets themselves and take some pictures just to make sure that we were getting all the little details of the character models correct. So it's been a really cool collaboration.
Now, the show and the movie obviously have a very, it's puppetry, and sets and practicality. This game has a very sort of almost clay, toyetic art style to it. How did you guys land on that?
Well, it's been, so one of the things with kind of the general art style is, I thought this was an interesting factoid, that the models themselves are rigged up to move as the puppets might move. So they don't do any movements that they wouldn't be able to do in an action if the puppet was actually acting them out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. As far as the general art style, we kind of wanted to match thematically, but have its own kind of gamey look to it.
No, that's really awesome. And did you guys build models and then scan them in, or make models and then make them sort of look like they're made of clay?
So it was making models.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
That's so cool. I mean, the environments are like really beautiful and incredibly detailed, and they feel like very lived in.
Yeah. So this is what we're looking at here is an example of kind of a side story map. We have a mystic NPC here. We have 3 party members, so we have a bowmaster, we have a scout, and then we have a stone warden on our team.
And going back to the collaboration with the Henson company, we actually sat down and showed them a lot of concept art and rendering of what our version of the Gelflings would look like, and the Grunax and so on and so forth. And it was great because, like, in real time, Lisa Henson, in fact, was able to say, I think what you've done there is great, but it isn't as like on tone with what we think they should look like. And so we're like able to real time take that feedback and then make it even more authentic.
Oh wow! So there's sort of like a push and pull creatively to get it exactly where it needed to be.
Yeah, I was really excited by just how engaged they were with the project. Like, and Lisa Henson's feedback in particular was just so precise. It was like, I think the ears are maybe a little too sharp, and so there's a lot of little adjustments to get it just right. So I think fans are going to be happy.
In terms of like character classes that we're looking at here, what kind of characters can people expect? I mean, obviously there's some archers, you have some long-range people. In traditional tactics games, people are sort of like, it's chess-like, right? People want to come up and stab, they want to shoot people from afar. What kind of sort of opportunities do people have to explore the different characters here?
Yeah, so we're aiming for around 20 classes in the final game. You'll have a primary and a secondary. Your primary is where most of your skills come from. Your secondary can contribute a skill that you wouldn't normally be able to get with that class. So here, the Bowmaster is one of the classes we have. She has the ability to mark targets, lower their defense, deal extra damage with bow attacks. When attacking from higher range, she does more damage, so that's one example. The Scout's another. He's fast, he's a rogue, and the way that takes place in a tactics game is he comes up more frequently in the turn order. He has a lot of movement-based attacks, so there's a lot of opportunities to get your team just how you want. Customize them to your strategy.
Right.
How did you guys land on tactics as a Dark Crystal game? I mean, there's any genre could have conceivably worked, but this is sort of an interesting one to pick.
Well, part of it was the initial pitch from the developer. So Bonus XP came to us and said, we would love to do a tactics game. And their background goes back to Age of Empires and strategy. So it felt like a natural fit to kind of develop a game that's really in the sweet spot of the type of gameplay that they're really good at. And then I think the variety of unit types really kind of lent itself to, whether that be on the creature side or the antagonist side or your own Gelfling side. So it just, at that point, made a lot of sense.
Now let's talk about how this sort of fits into the overall lore. Age of Resistance is a prequel series, correct?
That's right.
And this is the game a retelling of what happens in the series? Is it kind of like a side story?
It's a little bit of both. So you will see and play some of the characters that you're about to watch on August 30th when the show comes out on Netflix. You'll see and play a lot of those primary characters from the show. But in addition to that, there's a lot of side stories, characters that aren't in the show. And we're able to, I think, for the fan who ends up binging the show and wanting more, we'll be able to show them a little bit of what went on, when we weren't watching this character or that character.
Interesting.
Would you recommend the game before the show or vice versa?
Well, you can't play the game before the show because the game won't come out until winter of 2019, and the show is just in a couple of weeks. However, I would say the way we look at it is we're hopefully reaching two different audiences. One, let's say you hadn't planned on watching The Dark Crystal, or maybe you're not even a Netflix subscriber. We want to make a fantastic strategy game that you will just play and love and enjoy, and then hopefully you're curious enough after that to go and watch a show. If you happen to watch the show first and you loved it and you wanted more, then the goal is then you've got something else to go and do.
You'll also probably get a situation where people binge watch the show when it comes out and then do it again when the game comes out and have just the dual screen experience of you guys basically just Dark Crystaling their entire lives.
That would make me very, very happy.
Now, you mentioned the game has some original characters. If the show kind of takes off and you get second seasons, is there any possibility of characters from the game showing up in later seasons?
Gosh, I would say our collaboration with the Jim Henson Company has been strong enough to where they would be open to such an idea, but I wouldn't want to make any promises just yet.
I love that.
Why do you think this is such an endearing series? I mean, it's one of those things that when we all watched it when we were kids, some of us skipped it, but just seeing that it was coming back, people just got really nostalgic for it. I think it was one of those things where we've always loved it, but it's kind of secretly been in the back of our heads, and now it's here again. Why does this have such a legacy?
My perspective is it's a quality thing. They just did such a phenomenal job of every shot, creating this world that you've never seen before. These type of characters. I mean, Gelflings are completely invented, and Fizzgigs, and Grunax, and my favorite. I'm drawing a blank on the Podlings. They're just like these wild, raucous, full of life, and a little bit dirty, race of characters that. Anytime they're on screen, they steal the scene. It's just, there's so much fun. But I think the fact that they created this, complete universe and world in such high quality, it's something that was going to last.
Yeah. I think it's the juxtaposition of things, too. So, puppets, you don't normally associate with kind of a darker plot, honestly. And they said something really interesting at the Creature Shop, and one of their design philosophies with the original movie, and I hope we carry it forward in the game, is to take something that you might see in real life and then do 2 steps further to separate it. So it's just kind of just to twist it a little bit and make it really thought-provoking, I guess.
I really love that. Looking back at the gameplay now, there's a lot of sort of dynamic environmental things you can do. There's pushing and pulling of these rocks. There's some verticality. How much does that kind of stuff ramp up as the game goes on? How tall do levels get? Are there traps and environmental hazards and such?
Yeah, so there's going to be a whole lot of different ways to interact with the environment, and I like to think of each stage as a bit of a puzzle. You can brute force it. You can go and grind and level up your characters and just plow straight through. But there's usually a few kind of right ways to play each stage. I lost on this one a lot when I first played it, and then one of my coworkers told me I was playing it wrong. So you can hit this stone, this boulder up here. We're actually, I think, about to see it, but if you roll a stone up to hit someone, it'll do very little damage. If you knock it off onto someone, it can insta knock out the opponent. But that's difficult to line up.
Right.
The correct way to go about doing it is actually blocking off that staircase so that enemies can't come up that way, and they're forced to come around the side. And so every stage is going to have something like that, right? So some environmental hazard, some objects you can move around to kind of get an optimal strategy.
And so there is hypothetically a way to kind of quote unquote solve these in the fewest amount of moves, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to take a lot of sort of trial and error.
We're actually demoing the game on the show floor at Gamescom, and it's been interesting to watch. People, any range of familiarity with tactics games, we have it as sort of an intro level, and we have a challenging level. And I would say people are probably 25% of the time beating the level on the first try. And otherwise, they'll come back and try it a different way, and it's been really cool to see.
And you've got something like 80 sort of quests, or what, sort of stages, would you call them?
So over 60. We haven't landed on a final number, but somewhere in that neighborhood, over 60 individual levels.
That's awesome.
And what we're looking at right now is just sort of just a part of one of them, right?
So this is one map.
This is one map. Okay. Did they scale differently? They kind of.
Yeah, some will be a little bit larger. Some will be actually this is about as small as they tend to get. But we're usually not going to be looking at stages that span off the screen into the distance. They're all kind of a compact board that you can turn and examine from every angle and really explore the best strategy possible.
There's something wonderfully compact about that. It's sort of Gelfling scale, you know.
Yeah.
It's picture book-esque. When can people get their hands on this?
So we haven't announced a release date just yet, but later this year.
And when can people watch the series?
August 30th, debuting on Netflix globally at the same time.
Wonderful. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming by. There is so much more coming out of Gamescom. We have IGN at Gamescom now, continuing right after this.
What's up, everybody? James Duggan here at the Netflix booth at Gamescom 2019. The show floor is packed. We have folks checking out the Dark Crystal over here. We have folks checking out Stranger Things 3, the game, arcade machine. Which one should I do first? Let's. I'm here with Keaton to discuss the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance tactics. So tell us, what is the Dark Crystal? I can guess, maybe it's a tactics game.
It is. It's a tactics RPG. It's from the Dark Crystal IP, which was an amazing cult movie. Netflix is coming out with the series August 30th. This is the companion game for it. We're going to get to explore Thra and expand upon that story that the Netflix series is going to give us.
So will we be able to see characters we're familiar with from the film?
Yes. Actually, the second map that we're showing during the demo, this isn't much of a spoiler. Fans of the movie will get to see Chamberlain. He's one of the bad Skeksis. He was exiled in the movie, but this is set 100 years prior, so he's still with the Skeksis, and he's going to run around the map debuffing your party.
Fantastic. Can you talk us through some of the archetypes? Is this kind of conventional Holy Trinity RPG stuff?
So as a tactical RPG, you are going to find some tank defense-heavy classes, some melee classes, your healers, and your ranged casters. Yeah, so that's still going to be there. It's going to feel very comfortable to those players.
What are we looking at in terms of party size, in terms of progression? Are we introduced to new characters as the game moves forward?
Yeah, so there's a lot of progression. We really do want to explore Thra, and we're going to give that to the player as they play through the game. You're going to unlock characters, you're going to be able to adjust their jobs, do a lot of cool, nifty details like that. And there's a lot of progression in that you get to get gear, you level up your characters, you focus on secondary and primary jobs. There's a lot, XP based, yeah.
When can we get our hands on it?
We don't have a release date yet. We have to wait for the show because it would be just spoiler filled, right? So the show August 30th, sometime after that, this year.
Stranger Things 3, the game, launched on the 4th of July to Xbox, PlayStation 4, PC, Android, as well as Nintendo Switch. We have some makeshift arcade cabinets that actually look quite convincing. And this is just running off a Nintendo Switch. It's an isometric beat-em-up co-op action game, retro style, which fits the tone of the show very, very well. You can play 12 characters from the titular cast, including Mike, Hopper, Lucas, etc., etc. If you don't have a friend to play with, that's okay. You can switch between characters. And people say it follows the show pretty closely in terms of the narrative, the setting, what's going on. So that's a quick look at Stranger Things 3, the game. So we've actually realized there's a weird, creepy door. Let's see what's in here. Completely pitch black, terrifying. All right. I don't know what we're in for here, folks, but why don't we just keep rolling and find out? So far, so strange. Oh. That is terrifying. All right, Stranger Things 3, check it out on Netflix if you haven't already. And Gamescom 2019, keep it right here on IGN.
What's up, everyone? James Duggan here to talk you through how weapon customization, loadouts, and kill streaks work in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Stick around until the end of the video for a montage of every weapon, perk, field upgrade, and kill streak from the preview build. In a broad sense, I think it's fair to say that the Gunsmith offers a wider variety of smaller, more granular attachments than any Call of Duty before. I'd quantify a lot of the attachments and modifications as tinkering, fine-tuning a weapon to your specific preference. While some, like the 75-round drum mag, have an immediately noticeable impact on gameplay, the effect of others are far more subtle. In any case, you can equip up to 5 attachments or modifications as long as no 2 share the same category. In a clear departure from the Pick-10 system, you'll be able to outfit both your primary and secondary weapon with the maximum number of attachments without penalizing the rest of your kit. Which is to say that you can roll with 2 fully outfitted weapons, 3 perks, a grenade, and a tactical, all in the same loadout. Since each alteration comes with trade-offs, more isn't strictly better. The vertical foregrip, for example, offers greater recoil control at the price of slower overall movement speed. I suspect that the pros will often outweigh the cons, but that distinction is ultimately up to you, the player. Before we move on to kill streaks and field upgrades, I just want to highlight a few of the attachments that stuck out as particularly noticeable. The 75-round drum magazine isn't the only standout mag attachment for the AKs. You can also equip a 5.45 conversion kit, which uses lower caliber ammunition that cycles at a faster rate with less recoil, but also deals less damage. You can outfit a 4x magnification scope with a canted red dot sight that comes along with a few fair drawbacks. And finally, there are a few weapon-specific perks like 3-round burst, armor-piercing FMJs, and the ability to hold your breath indefinitely while aiming down sights. Kill streaks are pretty self-explanatory in the sense that you earn streak rewards for getting a certain number of kills without dying. The 2 points worth highlighting are that the Hardline perk is making a return in Modern Warfare, which reduces the number of kills needed, and that kill streak rewards are tiered, which is to say that you cannot equip multiple rewards from the same tier. For example, you won't be able to have both the UAV and counter UAV since they both inhabit the same 4-kill tier, or at least that's how it was in the preview build. Finally, field upgrades are similar to specialist equipment in the sense that you earn progress to deploy them over time and by completing actions like getting kills, but do not lose that progress for dying. Alright, I've said my piece, thanks for watching. I leave you with a montage of every weapon, perk, field upgrade, and kill streak from the preview event. Enjoy.
IGN is better at video games than all other outlets.
All video games. Who's a good boy?
We're also the best at being incredibly humble.
I just on you, kid.
I got him.
Yes! Introducing the all-new Up It News! Up It Nude's new and improved recipe is chock full of lists, let's plays, unboxings, special guests, goofs, guffaws, and other content too stupid for regular weekdays.
Like some sort of color-changing reptile stripper man. I'm doing it. Don't touch it. What's wrong with you? Get corn snack. Game sucks. Bring it back.
Up at Noon, weekends on IGN and YouTube.
Welcome back to IGN at Gamescom Now. 2 Point Hospital has been a hit on PC, and now it's coming to consoles. Here to tell me more is Ben and Lauren from 2 Point, and Max Scoville, a guy that doesn't like hospitals but will be convinced otherwise in a few minutes.
Well, it's going to be better going to the hospital because you get 2 Point Hospital on Switch now.
That's right.
Yeah.
In a second, we're going to look at some console gameplay running on PS4. This must be awesome for you guys to bring this game to consoles finally.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's actually been in our plan right from the very beginning. We wanted to bring it to console, but we knew that we kind of needed to give it the time to really refine the controls and figure out exactly how we wanted the user interface to work. And you know, it's nearly a year since the PC version came out, so we've had a really good opportunity to really focus in on reimagining all of the menus, right, Lauren?
Yep, absolutely. We've gone right back to the drawing board when it came to the user experience for the console version. We wanted it to feel like it was naturally made for console, not a PC port. So we spent a lot of time really getting the feel of the game right.
And so we're actually looking at the PS4 console gameplay right now. It looks awesome. For the uninitiated, this is essentially a hospital simulation game.
Yes.
But wait, don't be scared. But with a very wonderful comedic angle to it. I'll let you guys explain.
It's very much a light-hearted hospital simulation game. It's you take on the role of a hospital administrator, and you're building up this healthcare empire across 2 Point County. But you know, 2 Point County isn't your normal everyday sort of place, and the illnesses that you're going to run into aren't your normal everyday sorts of illnesses. So you know, you shouldn't be surprised to be seeing people with light bulbs for heads that need unscrewing and replacing with a new 3D printed head, and that sort of thing.
Which all have very wonderful punny names, like like Lightheaded.
We embrace the puns, however terrible they might be. There's all sorts of weird illnesses in there, like verbal diarrhea. Animal magnetism, where they come in covered in animals.
Oh, that's
things
great.
like that.
Pandemic, where people literally come in with pans on their heads.
Yeah.
And I was reading about the removal process for that, which involves a magnetic crane.
It's quite
not necessarily doctor
procedure.
recommended. But
Expensive medical equipment. Now, can you talk a little bit about sort of the process of adapting a PC game into a console game and sort of the challenges there? And obviously, you're dealing with different hardware. But it's not just as easy as sort of dragging and dropping. You've also got to account for controls. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. As I said before, we wanted it to feel like it was made for console, which it has been. We played around with a lot of different input methods, but we've really narrowed down on this camera control that you use to select everything in the game instead of your cursor. And we've been doing a lot of user testing, getting it into the hands of as many people as possible so we can really refine it and make it.
Yeah, we've iterated quite a lot. I mean, it's quite terrifying the first time you do user testing because inevitably there's something that's not quite right. And it is absolutely terrifying just seeing, oh my God, everyone keeps doing that. But it gives you that great opportunity to go back to the drawing board, tweak stuff a bit, come up with a new version, test it out. And I think we're really happy with how it's turned out, actually. Yeah.
But one of the great things about 2 Point Hospital is that right from the beginning, we wanted a game that anyone could pick up and play.
Right.
So if you can build rooms, hire staff, you can play through the whole game. So we wanted that to feel really nice on the controller. But if you want that extra layer of depth, you can choose how much you want to charge for your vending machines, how much you want to charge for treatment. You can really get into really fine detail if you want to really optimize your hospital.
Now, what we're seeing here, it seems to be sort of early on in the hospital. They're ambitious. They're putting a lot of bathrooms down. And I think I believe, strategic
They're going to
places.
need them.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of people just sort of mulling around the open areas. There's some garbage on the floor.
Yeah.
What's the sort of process like for like a new console player to start with something like this, and then how quickly did they start building up something that's, I believe, fully functioning, in quotes?
Yeah, this is actually a level from slightly further in. This is actually from Pebbly Island, which is one of the DLC packs that we've released for the PC version, and both that and the Bigfoot expansion packs are included in the console version. So this is Pebbly Reef on the coast of Pebbly Island, which is prone to some very strange weather events. And as you can see, it's already in a bit of a state and needs a medical license. It can't actually function as a proper hospital just yet.
So outside of the chaos that you'll deal with inside the hospital, there's also external factors as well.
Yeah.
Fun.
Now, can you talk a little bit about sort of the game's sense of humor? Because I think that some people play simulations and they want to get everything right and you get the trains running on time and everything. But this is definitely a bit tongue-in-cheek, and it's sort of it's almost designed to go wrong.
Oh yeah. It's a game about spinning plates where you probably can't spin all the plates. We want the plates to fall over eventually. Certainly at this point in the game, you're a little bit further in. If you haven't really got to grips with some of the deeper management aspects of the game, then you might start running into trouble. I mean, this particular level, it's all about making sure you've got enough janitors to keep on top of all of these strange occurrences like frogs falling from the sky and things like that. So yeah, it's just all about making sure you've got enough staff, enough doctors, nurses, janitors, receptionists, to just make sure that the whole thing doesn't descend into absolute anarchy.
Now, outside of, I guess, like having a baby, going to a hospital is usually like not a place you want to go to. It's usually like something bad happened to you or someone else. So how do you take that very cold, sterile, sad environment and like make it fun?
You just have to come up with terrible puns. I think is the answer to that.
I appreciate that. That's exactly my humor level. So
yeah.
I mean,
and weird, wonderful cure machines.
Yep.
As we've just had put down there the identification.
Oh yes, it's the
face stamp
machine. Yeah. This is one of our slightly bizarre. Well, you'll probably see one of the illnesses coming in a minute. This machine basically will re-stamp a face onto someone who has sadly lost their facial features.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, it is. It's quite upsetting.
Do you each have a personal favorite unfortunate malady that you encounter in the game?
I do like this one because the cure machine is just so ridiculous. It's so violent the way that it stamps the face back onto them.
Well, it's also if treatment potentially fails. When it doesn't quite go on properly, so they end up walking out with a very roughly drawn face.
Yeah, looks like a child has scrawled it on their face with crayon or something like that.
Now, in the middle of us discussing this horrible ailment, I believe a hurricane showed up. Was that like tiny tornadoes started whipping through the
mini tornadoes,
the lobby?
Yeah, that does tend to happen.
Does that not happen at your local hospital?
No.
We have much worse problems in the American healthcare system.
It's very true. So what do you do to sort of keep the patients like occupied and have, outside of like medical stuff and like hospital beds, is there fun stuff for them to do?
Yeah, they have all sorts of different needs, and you want to make sure you look after them, otherwise they'll eventually just rage quit the hospital, as we call it, and go to another hospital. So you're going to have to think about, keeping them entertained, giving them enough food and drink, and just making sure they've got things to do, because when the queues start building up, that's when they'll start getting a little bit angry, or they'll particularly get angry if they can't find a toilet.
Yeah.
So it's very
magazine racks they can read and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But then you start getting arcade machines and things like that, don't you?
Now, we saw a screenshot floating around that had us both with a lot of questions, which is why were there ghosts in the hospital?
Why not? So yeah, this kind of goes back to what you were talking about before about trying to keep the hospital that lives in this world as being a light-hearted thing. So we steer totally clear of anything that could be like a real-world illness. But also, it's like, how do you deal with death in a light-hearted way? And our answer to that was, well, what if they turn into the cutest ghosts you can possibly imagine, and then a janitor comes along and sucks them up with their little vacuum cleaner?
Which could happen at regular hospitals. We just don't know. I mean,
yeah. I'm not a trained medical professional, so I can't say
or a
for
janitor.
sure.
So I mean, it could happen all the time. You mentioned arcade machines.
Oh yeah,
and these vending machines. Like I really like that sort of tactile placement of like fun little things that we have in our real world. How are those experienced here? Like there's one right now.
Yeah, in fact, your patients can go and play Sonic.
Really?
On an arcade machine.
Yeah.
It's the best way to keep them happy.
That's awesome.
I think the kinds of entertainment items we have are probably as ridiculous as some of the illnesses in some ways.
Yeah.
Certainly some of the things that you unlock later into the game are just maybe not things you would expect to see in a hospital.
I appreciate that, although I will say that if I walked into a hospital and there was like a SEGA arcade cabinet in the lobby, I'd be like, I don't know about how this medical procedure is going to go.
And loads of debris on the ground.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. They're getting on fine. Look, there's a few fire extinguishers down on the side. If anything goes wrong, it'll all be fine.
Yeah.
So in addition to hurricanes, what other sort of external factors can come in and really just cause problems?
So one of the things we've done is we've tried to establish these characters that live in the world of 2 Point County, and some of them will come and visit your hospital, and some of them are there for good reasons, like a pop star might come in and everyone loves this pop star, but then some of them are the head of a rival organisation, and they might be up to no good in your hospital. As far as actually sabotaging your machinery, you might notice sometimes there's the Jumbo McNally, who's the head of Jumbo Megacorp. He'll wander into your hospital and walk up to a machine and smash it with a spanner, and suddenly it sets on fire.
Oh, and don't forget the health inspector as well.
Oh yeah,
Yep,
Henry Jobsworth. He's very picky about. He would not be happy with what's going on here. I'm afraid.
Really?
Oh
yeah.
boy. I never thought about that. I always think of health inspectors going to restaurants. I guess hospitals would probably be a lot more for them to worry about. But
hospitals have restaurants.
That's true. Yeah. That's how you shut down a hospital.
You can build a cafe in here, and people with verbal diarrhea might throw up all over it. But who knows?
What's this man right here? He's walking between the sort of the craters.
Yes,
that's
he's
the
got
janitor.
a janitor clearing up
What
the
was
mess.
causing those marks? There was like some small
it's like a
solar flares.
Oh yeah, of course. Why didn't I think of that in the hospital? Solar flares.
Oh.
They just flare.
Yeah,
flaring up.
That's definitely an ailment. Did you guys visit hospitals when making this game? Has this game changed hospitals for you?
How much research did you do at the actual hospital?
Did you mocap a hospital?
Oh yeah, it's highly realistic.
But when you go to one now, like for whatever reason, do you look around and you're like, well, this could use an arcade cabinet, or what if we moved the bathrooms over here?
Yeah, I think they could learn a few strategies from our game, to be honest. Yeah. You see a bit of fluid analysis going on there. That's
that
one of the diagnosis procedures.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
In fact, Lauren, you were saying that you have a bit of a phobia of needles.
I
and
do.
This did not help with that, unfortunately.
No, some of the animations, whilst I do love zooming right in and getting to see some of these patients being diagnosed and cured, that one I'll
Not
stay
so
away.
much.
Yeah.
And we've also got clowns in the game, and people have been talking about how clown phobia is a real thing. And so it raised the question: should we have a tick box to turn off clowns?
Yes.
Yes. There's the answer to that. Yeah.
I don't even make games. I can tell you that's a great option. I love that idea. Sure. You should be able to turn off clowns in every game.
Yeah.
Why not?
Oh, fantastic! We got someone coming in for treatment.
Oh, he's face stamp.
Look.
This will be good.
This is gonna be great. It looks sort of comfy. Oh my God! No, it's not.
Oh, I think this one went wrong.
He's got a skull over his head, which is not a good.
Let's have a look
thing to
at
happen
see if
in
we
a
can see
hospital.
the face. Oh dear. In fact, it was so bad that it's
Is he
going to kill
hiding?
them.
He's hiding his face.
Oh
It
wow.
killed him? The machine that stamps him in the face didn't do a good thing for him?
When it tried its best.
Unfortunately,
it did not go well.
It might be about to get one of those ghosts.
The procedure was a failure. Oh no!
Well,
He died.
Get him out of here.
Did he die?
Oh
my
God.
God!
He's.
We could see if. Oh dear.
That's
oh
horrible.
dear. Do we have a ghost capture janitor available?
Oh, that's not okay at all.
So wait, that man died during his his facial reconstruction surgery, and then in the middle of the lobby became a ghost, and is now tormenting all the people in this hospital. Yeah, we need somebody to come here and vacuum that ghost.
Unfortunately, the one problem is in this level, all of the janitors are untrained.
What?
So you're going to have to train them in ghost capture before they will be able to actually capture that ghost. So I think we're getting into a bit of a pickle here.
I do appreciate that there was the one guy in the back still playing Sonic the Hedgehog, and he's like,
Oh, yeah.
Is there a ghost here? That's not my problem.
Yeah, but that's another fantastic thing with 2 Point Hospital. We have all these character interactions going on whilst the simulation's going on. So characters, as you see, when the ghost spawns, normally people will run away unless you're playing Sonic the Hedgehog.
That seems accurate, you know.
Yeah.
But staff also have character traits, which can affect their behavior, can affect their mood, can affect other members' staff of mood. So they could make other people grumpy and not get in with other staff members.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of depth there for people that really want to get into that stuff. You know, you should think about your hiring decisions, because you don't want to hire someone who's just really annoying and just upsets all the patients.
No, of course not. Now, obviously, the game has a tremendously eccentric sense of humor and a very, very vibrant, active community of people playing it on PC right now. Hopefully, consoles very soon. What are you guys getting, like, feedback from people that is like specifically weird? Because I feel like you guys get some strange emails.
I think, oh yeah, we did actually. Someone sent me a photo of lots of weird stretchy skin stuff going on, and I didn't know if it was a real thing or not. But they somehow they found my email address and they just sent me some pictures. And I thought, unsolicited illness pictures.
I mean, were they thinking you would diagnose this?
No, they were like, put this in the game, please.
Oh.
Really?
Was it their skin?
I don't don't know.
Who could know?
We didn't want to ask.
Stopped reading after.
Have you gotten any feedback from actual medical professionals about the game?
From who?
From actual medical professionals.
Yeah, like, do any doctors or nurses go home and play this at the end of the day?
My sister is actually a GP.
Oh, nice.
Doctor, and when we first announced the game, I sent her the trailer that introduced lightheadedness, the light bulbs for the heads, and I'll be honest, she was actually slightly confused as to what it was. I think
it's a serious medical condition. She's probably very concerned.
Yeah.
Now, I saw a vending machine there with a snack inside it. I believe it was called, was it Cheesy Gubbins?
Cheesy Gubbins.
How do you guys come up with this stuff?
Well, we have a lot of fun. We want 2 Point County to feel like this not a real place, but a fleshed out world that has brands and products beyond the hospitals. And so, I mean, that's something you've been thinking about recently, isn't it, Lauren?
Yes, yeah, the in-world branding for all these made-up companies. We put a lot of time and effort into fleshing out the world of 2 Point County and creating all these products and characters so it feels just like one cohesive world. So you'll hear radio adverts for particular products, or other characters will just appear over the channel.
You'll hear about the Jumbo McNally, the guy that wrecks your machines.
Up to no good.
Yeah. Or the pop star that might pop into your hospital. You'll hear her latest album on the radio, that kind of thing.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And what's this being put down right now?
Like gift shop?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's just another way of keeping people happy, but that's going to need an assistant to work there. So you've got to kind of weigh up, is it worth paying the wages of another member of staff for the extra benefit that it's going to give to the patients in the hospital?
And whether you want to train up your assistant as well to make them even better at running that kiosk.
Oh yeah, teach them improved customer service and things like that.
Now, I know this is kind of a spiritual successor to Theme Hospital. I'm also getting some kind of Aardman Animations, Wallace and Gromit vibes. Have you guys gotten that before?
Ooh, yeah, the Aardman thing, that comes up quite a lot, actually. And I mean, I love the art style. I love what the artists have done with the game. I think it's so charming. You really get the personality of all of the characters coming across. And the other thing that's great about it is that it keeps it very readable. So even when you zoom out, you can still see exactly what's going on. It's very easy to see the details of what's happening, and the animations are all very exaggerated, so you can tell exactly who's happy, who's sad, who's angrily storming out of the hospital.
It would also be like legitimately horrifying and kind of Lynchian if you had these ailments in a photorealistic setting.
Yeah.
People are coming in with no faces on.
Yeah. Quite harrowing.
Yeah, this is a much better alternative, nice and colorful.
Yeah.
So you can see there's a bit of training going on there. I think that they've decided that those ghosts are going to be a problem, so they're training their janitors in ghost capture. which is a good move.
Although I have just noticed, has he put down? Oh, okay, he does have aircon units. Because in this particular level, you also have to take into account the temperature of the hospital. So you've got to make sure your patients and staff are comfortable with aircon. We've got other levels where it can get a bit too cold. So another thing that you have to manage. Now might be a little bit too chilly, but
So, as we mentioned before, the PC community is obviously still thriving, and right after this segment, we're actually going to show the brand new trailer. But in the meantime, we do have some footage of the DLC 3 trailer that is the actual gameplay that is coming to PC.
This is an exclusive reveal for you guys. We've not forgotten about our PC audience. It's coming very soon, Close Encounters.
Okay, what can you guys tell us about this?
It's exploring another part of the county. Okay, so what we've got here is you can see this new part of the county. There's been some interesting things happened with flying saucers. There's been some kind of fireball that has gone across the sky and landed just near the little town of Goldpan in the south of the county.
It's causing some peculiar new illnesses in 2 Point County that you'll have to cure as they come through your new hospitals.
Yeah.
This looks like a terrifying place to build a hospital.
Yeah. So this is actually on the map. This is the 2 Point County map where you can jump between all of your hospitals. That's an important thing in the game, is to be able to jump between all of them, keep on managing earlier hospitals, that kind of thing. So this is Goldpan. This is a nice little town that's been encountering some quite strange illnesses since this strange saucer landed nearby.
And there's perilous spandex too.
Yeah, that's the new movie from Roderick Cushion.
Yeah, well, it's actually one of his older movies. I think we're currently on Perilous Spandex 5, I believe, A Stretch Too Far.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
You've got your places like Roachburger. Again, this is going back to the made-up products and things like that. You're a big fan of designing logos for these, aren't you?
I still can't believe my job is to create logos for some of these ridiculous companies. It's just so much fun. This is my favorite, Camouflage Falls. The ever so secret hidden base behind a failed housing development, which is very, very cleverly hidden behind some roughly painted billboards.
There's no way that anyone's going to spot that secret base behind those facades.
Yeah, absolutely not.
So how does the gameplay change as you move between these different areas? Like how okay, well
this is a classified area. You shouldn't be seeing this, unfortunately.
Don't look, close your eyes.
Yeah. How did this get in?
Blurred out entirely.
Oh dear.
So we can see some of the new illnesses here. We've got Flat Packed, where people have had unfortunate incidents with easy build wardrobes.
We've got some lack of humanity patients coming in at the front there. You can see checking into reception.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is a whole new area. There's 3 new locations where people are going to be able to build their hospitals, and a whole new set of illnesses that people are going to be able to encounter. It's exciting. I think it's probably the maddest set of illnesses that we've come up with yet.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You have a thriving community with. They're very active in the game. I see you guys keep tabs on sort of all the different stats of how the hospitals are doing kind of across the player base. What kind of, have you gotten sort of feedback that's directed what you've done with the DLC at all, or is this kind of you guys doing your own thing?
Yeah, well, I think we're always listening to the community, because there's always useful things to take from that, and we've done all sorts of updates to the PC version over the last year. I think we've just put out update 16.
Yeah, 1.16's recently come out. We're always listening to the community. If there's any quality of life updates we can get in as well to just make everything a bit easier.
Nice. Well, thanks, guys. That's 2 Point Hospital. I'm very excited for it. If you haven't played it, it's coming to console, so check it out there. We have a new trailer, a brand new exclusive PC DLC 3 trailer coming up right after this. So if you need even more 2 Point Hospital, stick around. Don't go anywhere, because IGN at Gamescom Now continues right after this.
bring this whole thing crashing down. Here comes the wrecking ball of truth on 2 Point Radio. Welcome to the show. This is Harrison Wolf. Listen up, pups, because I'm about to blow your paws off. The mayor's office denies the existence of its secret facility, Chasm 24, and citizens have gone mysteriously missing. Mysteriously. Could it all be linked to the alleged UFO crash near Gold Pan? Sure, there's no actual evidence, but I say this crisis is definitely caused by aliens and secret alien stuff. It's time for the Wolfpack to go on an alien hunt. We're going to storm Chasm 24, if we can find it. Remember, they can't stop all of us. For now, stay vigilant, for the wolf must return to the wilderness.
You're not a real wolf, Harrison!
Hey, Nick, did you hear about the new Marvel news?
No, what happened? No, what happened? Hey, what happened? Tell me.
Has this ever happened to you? Good news! It doesn't have to! The Daily Fix is here every day with a concentrated dose of all that gaming, movie, TV, streaming, internet, and puppy news you need to survive the work week. All right, so puppy news isn't on it yet, but I'm working on it. Roll the thing!
Reggie Fils-Aimé is retiring.
Eagle-eyed fans are combing through every last frame. I can't prepare.
Oh.
Stay right here on IGN.
And keep it locked to IGN.
IGN Now. New news that's new to you. Introducing the all-new Up It News.
Don't touch it. What's wrong with you? Get corn snack. Game sucks. Bring it back.
Up at Noon. Weekends on IGN and YouTube.
Welcome back to IGN at Gamescom Now. I'm joined by Jonathan and Torkel of Jaeger to discuss the cycle. So tell me, for folks at home who aren't aware, what is the cycle?
Well, it's we call it a competitive quest shooter. It's PvE, where you compete against others to complete the most quests or contracts and then escape the planet alive. Does that sum it up?
I think pretty much, yeah. So it's the win condition is completing the most contracts and getting off alive, like Torkel said, and it's not last man standing, so it's not that important to kill other players. You can theoretically, you could win the match without shooting anyone, but in practice, that's not usually how it plays out. So.
It's really interesting that the victor condition is complete most contracts, because in PvE games I've seen before, there's usually a single objective, and that makes it a little bit harder to be like second place.
Yeah.
So tell me, what are those contracts? What are those objectives?
So we have quite a few. So each match you start out and you have 4 contracts to complete, and you can complete them sort of over and over again. And we've tried to make contracts that are, some are more PvP focused, some are more PvE focused. So it's really about, a lot of it for us has been about how do you play the game? Like, how do you want to play this mixture of PvE and PvP? Sometimes how do you want to play it that day or that session? But just making sure that both PvE and PvP are ways that are viable. And for us that meant make sure that there's a multitude of things that you can do in the game.
Yeah, and the risk reward is different for the different contracts. And if it's all about one contract, I don't know how much PvE it really is. I think it ends up being PvP very, very heavily. And that's not necessarily always good. So you don't always necessarily want a high intensity PvP match. So
What's really interesting about the Battle Royale genre and kind of the offshoots like PvPvE is the concept of in-match progression and every single match having a new chance to be the most powerful person on the server. So tell me about the in-match progression in this cycle.
It was his idea.
So it's essentially, it's twofold. One is that you just start out with your pistol and you have what we call a gear store. So you have the weapons that you can unlock, and then you earn credits by completing contracts and killing monsters, and then you buy your gear in the session. And you also level up, so we have a short level up track for each of our kits or classes. So at the same time as the planet is getting more and more dangerous and things are getting like bigger and scarier, other players and you are also getting bigger and stronger. So we want to have this entire match sort of grow and escalate, and then it wraps up and you do it again.
What is the thing that is kind of forcing players together towards the end, analogous to like the zone in something like Apex?
So for us, it's the evac ship that comes down at the end of the match. So once this storm has come over the planet and all the monsters are going crazy, there's one chance to escape, and it's this ship that comes down, and everyone needs to get on board the ship. But they have to work together first to kill the monsters that are blocking the ship, and this leads to some interesting scenarios.
It's a dilemma for the players usually.
Is it like a game of musical chairs where there's only a certain amount of seats on the evac ship?
No. There's plenty of space for everyone.
Oh, that's very nice.
So it just often doesn't work out like that. So there's a PvP kind of arena space, and the ship's landing in the middle of it. And like Torkel said, you need to clear the platform, the landing platform of monsters, or the ship just can't land. So every once in a while, it doesn't happen that often, but every once in a while, the players don't really get it together. They're too concentrated on shooting each other, and the ship can't land, and then the storm kills them. So it's not happening that often, but I like that it can happen, you know, there's that dilemma.
So what is the incentive for PvP, aside from griefing players, which to me has always been its own reward, but do I stand to gain more power?
It's something that we've worked on a lot over the last few months, actually, and maybe you could talk about the kill contracts.
Yeah, so we had that. We had we have had over the last year a lot of players who kill other players, and we often said that there would be no real incentive. It would be it's worthwhile to kill someone who's ahead of you on the scoreboard, because, well, then you'll sort of leapfrog them when they die. But we recently added bounties, essentially. So if you if you kill too many players, you will get marked, and others will know where you are, and they can get points for killing you. So it can be worthwhile killing other players who have done too many, well, I guess, bad things on the planet.
Me, essentially. That's fine. So we've talked a lot about the in-game progression, but is there an out-of-match progression? Is my kind of account leveling up, so to speak, as I win more?
Yes. So we have all the things that you put in your loadout that you can buy in the in-match progression. Those come from the sort of the meta progression, where you craft new weapons, new funkier weapons, a bit stranger weapons that
funkier,
you then
I like that.
Yeah, that you can then craft, and you put that in your gear store. So the possibility space of the kind of things that you can bring with you sort of opens up the more you play. We really want to make sure that they're not better things, that it's not that you're getting more powerful things. I actually think some of our starting stuff that you get for free is probably
too powerful.
But yeah, you'll get more and more opportunities, more ways of sort of enhancing your playstyle as you go along.
And it's not just weapons, so abilities play a big part of the game as well. So you have 2 ability slots. And there's things like a heavy turret or orbital bombardment, and there's also gadgets, so things like recall teleport, healing beam, and a scanner, so you could check everything out around you. So you can really customize to your playstyle to a very high degree, and it goes even a step further because you can also modify everything. There's mods for everything, and they're not making the weapon necessarily always just better. There's some trade-off with the mods, but yeah, we're really going for this high customization of your playstyle.
You mentioned a healing beam, which is very interesting to me because when I've seen it used, it's always healing other players. Talk to me about the process of teaming up. Can you queue into a match with like a pre-made group of friends, or are the team-ups more emergent?
Well, actually both.
Yeah.
So we have a 4-man squad mode where you can queue for it alone and you'll end up with other people or with your friends. And then we have a duo mode where you can queue up for 2, and then we have our solo mode where we have a bit more emergent. We call it pacting, where anyone you see, you can invite them to essentially a 2-man team that you can break whenever you want, but that you sort of work together and at some cost, of course. But
so you would think that players would betray, right, and would break the pact and betray, but they don't do it that much. Like
we
did it
internally,
a lot,
like all the time. But players are nicer than we were.
It's surprising, isn't it?
I mean, they're more murderous
surprised
than we were. Like they kill each other much more than we did internally, but much more honest, I felt.
Yeah. When you look at games like EVE Online, you're like, I know how folks are going to behave, and then you're like, that's strange. We've talked a lot about PvP. Let's talk a little bit about PvE. Talk to me about the enemy variety, the difficulty of monsters, how it scales up throughout the match.
So, variety, we just added new droids. So we have our first new enemy type that we added in a long time. That's quite different than the sort of the planetary monsters that we have. They scale up, they get tougher, more durable, more dangerous as we go, and then we have some bigger, nastier enemies that come along.
Bosses.
So it's something that we want to work on, and we want to add more and more enemies as we go. We felt it was really important to get sort of the core PvE combat right before we just start adding more and more.
Yeah, we have things like the Howler. It buffs enemies or other monsters around it, so you have to kind of focus your fire there. We have big plans though for PvE.
Very cool. With those bosses, do players need to work together, or is that something a single player can tackle?
You'd have to be really good. Like,
it sounds like a challenge to me.
Theoretically possible, I bet, but
yeah, I mean,
I've never done it.
We want single players to. We want you to be able to play the way you want to play, and if you want to play alone, things should sort of be doable. We have some moments that are probably not advisable. Like, it's not a good thing to try to tackle it alone. But it's been one of our biggest challenges, is making sure that these different ways that we imagine the game to be played, that they all sort of work and they're all viable, and
we don't forbid anything.
Exactly.
Let's talk about weapons. You spoke about the funkiness, and we can see something. This looks very much to me like kind of a conventional assault rifle. We have a melee there. Talk to me about some of the funkier weapons and what you're doing in that design space.
The haze launcher, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, we have, for example, we have it's a rocket launcher that shoots sort of an AoE bubble, and then if you shoot this bubble, it gets bigger and bigger, and it does more damage to the things inside it, and if you shoot it enough, the whole thing explodes.
I really like that.
If you're too close, you hurt yourself.
I think that's probably our funkiest weapon at the moment, but
I mean, the Carla is pretty cool. You're basically walking around with a large artillery piece. It looks, it looks kind of crazy.
So, yeah, I think the haze launchers are our most funky weapon, but other things also, just the things that we wanted to create were mods. For example, we had chain lightning, and then the weapon we see here is it's a charge-up beam assault rifle sort of gun, which is it's not outlandish, but it's not just a straightforward
it's definitely
assault
mechanically
rifle.
distinct. Let's discuss the economy. There seems to be an element of strategy about kind of getting resources and then spending them. What are the prevailing strategies for early game, mid game? Kind of, can you rush into a build, or is there a late game strategy? Things like that.
I mean, our goal is that there are a lot of strategies and that they're all sort of viable. I mean, we play the game very, very differently. We're not like the high-level players of the game either, but I personally tend to be, I take too many risks, so I really want to save up all my credits and buy the biggest gun I can as soon as possible.
I don't do that. I get a gun as fast as I can and upgrade it and usually keep it and try to get 2 abilities, because I'm a more PvE player, so I like abilities like cloaking and directional warp, so I can get out of trouble. And he's more the guy getting into trouble.
Even though I shouldn't, because I get killed every time, but
that's how you learn, right?
That's how he rolls.
What is the match length? Is it static, or is it kind of variable?
It's 20 minutes right now, so it's 20 minutes until the ship comes down and picks you up. I mean, it's variable because, well, if you die, it might be quite a bit shorter, but...
Do we have any cosmetics in the game, anything that is just for show?
Oh, a lot. We have a lot of weapon vanity. We have lots of, we have 6 different archetypes that you get. So it's a free game, so you can download it free in Epic Game Store. And you can also mix and match between all of those 6 archetypes that I mentioned. And we're working on a lot of content for the season pass that will go out around October.
Fantastic. All right, the cycle is in open alpha?
It's now early access as of Monday.
Goodness. You guys are moving at a very quick pace, and I like it a lot.
It's been a year and a half of development.
All right, well, definitely check out the cycle. Jonathan Torkel, thank you so much for joining me. Don't go anywhere. If you're watching at home, we've got much more Gamescom coming up, specifically Destroy All Humans. IGN at Gamescom Now continues after this.
Reggie Fils-Aimé is retiring.
Eagle-eyed fans are combing through every last frame.
I came prepared.
Oh.
Stay right here on IGN.
And keep it locked to IGN.
IGN Now. New news that's new to you. Introducing the all-new Up It News.
Don't touch it. What's wrong with you? Get corn snack. Game sucks. Bring it back.
Up at noon, weekends on IGN and YouTube.
Fact. IGN is better at video games than all other outlets.
All video games. Who's a good boy?
We're also the best at being incredibly humble.
I just on you, kid.
I got him.
Yes, yes, yes.
Welcome back to IGN at Gamescom Now. Since the dawn of man, humans have only deserved one thing, and that is to be destroyed. In the upcoming game, Destroy All Humans, you can destroy all humans, plus plenty more. Here to tell us more is Max and Martin, and let's talk Destroy All Humans. Hi, guys.
Hi. Hey. So this is, I think a lot of people initially were like, oh, it's a remaster, but this is kind of a nuts and bolts remake. You guys have really done a lot to kind of change this around. Can you talk a little bit about what, in addition to just the graphical overhaul, what you've done to sort of improve the gameplay from the original?
Well, basically, the one thing is the full remake, so that it's completely built from the ground up in Unreal Engine 4, so that also gives you a lot more freedom to actually change the gameplay, the balance, and little things like player guidance and ease of use. In general, we're doing a very faithful remake because you don't, touch a classic. So it is a cult classic, and we're leaving the story exactly as it was. But at the same time, the expectations for certain things like saving systems, player guidance, but also the combat and everything like this has changed over the years. Obviously, it's 15 years old, the original. And the game itself inspired a lot of other open world games, so now we are in this weird cycle where people say like, you stole this from this game. We're like, no, this is the original. But yeah, the main things we looked at were just making it more dynamic, creating a lot more fun gameplay chaos, because in the original it was usually a bit, you do either this or that. You either shoot somebody, or you use your telekinesis, or you pop their brains out with your psychic spell. And now it's all at the same time. You grab something or someone, you have them hover around, above your head, and you run around, you use your jetpack, and you throw it down to the ground. At the same time, you can shoot. So it's a big mix, and that makes the gameplay much more dynamic. The character itself is much more dynamic. You've got a dash, you've got a skating thing where you can basically just slide across the ground with your jetpack, and you have more air time in the air, so this makes it easier to shoot at puny humans from above. So all these little things.
Now, in terms of creating remakes, did you guys build everything from the ground up? Did you have access to the original wireframe models and source code? And I mean, how does that look to pull up something from so long ago and sort of revitalize it?
Well, basically, it's more like as if you had the sketch of something. So you can pull the 3D basically setup of the original city and everything, exactly where all the towns were placed or the houses were placed. So we're keeping it very similar to in terms of the size, the general size of the 6 cities that make up the world. But then you basically throw it all away and exchange it for your new assets. So it's basically as if you have, in terms of just the graphical fidelity. If you look at the beautiful, beautiful world that Black Forest Games has created, it's more or less as if you had little toy blocks and now you exchange them for proper real houses.
Now, when you were looking at the original and kind of revisiting it to give it an overhaul, was there any particular mechanic or element that you just felt had sort of aged more poorly than anything else that really, really needed to get kind of revitalized?
The saving system, mainly because it's an open world game, and well, what we did, we also looked at Destroy Humans 2 and looked at what did they change in the second one. So it was the same developer, so they looked at certain weaknesses of their own game and then approved upon it. So there's a lot of little elements that are actually from the second part. So the way you handle the UFO that you can actually sink and rise, or the way you create ammunition via a spell where you just focus on an object and you turn it into ammunition. It's called Transmogrify. This is also from the second part. So we looked at the things that they themselves thought need improving and then brought that back. Also the saving system of the second one was already better than the first. And all these kinds of things we already brought into the first part, because we know that...
that was a good pile of cow poop, by the way.
Yes.
HD manure physics, that's what we're gaming is all about in 2019.
It's the moment where he realizes the cows are not the dominant life form of this planet, so it's time to grab them with your new wonderful PK. And as you can see, like, you can just grab them and then it floats with you, and you... And whenever you want to release it, you release it. If you just tap it once, you can also just carry it around with you. So we're looking forward for the first speedrunner who will play the entire game with a cow. Yeah, so this is it's all about that mixture of easily accessible gameplay, a lot of chaos and fun, and the humor of the game, which comes through the legendary dialogues.
Now, there's open world elements to this that sort of get unlocked after completing story missions. How does all that work?
Basically, through the story, you bit by bit unlock those 6 big cities, and then you can always revisit them. And in between, your goal as an alien, basically, you're invading Earth because your species has waged war on Mars for so long with nuclear weapons that their genitalia withered away, and so now they can only clone themselves, but their clones are degrading. So now, when they went back from that war back then on the Mars, they did a little stop on Earth and fornicated with early humans. So in our blood, there's pure early Furon DNA. So that's why they're now coming and collecting our DNA to make sure that they will one day have genitalia again and can reproduce normally again.
A timeless tale.
Yeah, it's a typical boy meets girl, boy needs DNA, boy loses genitalia. This kind of tale.
Who among us hasn't?
We've all been there. Basically, it's an alien invasion story, so it draws from all these 1950s cliches and the propaganda and the Red Scare and all this kind of stuff. And at the same time, you're on the other side, so you're the evil alien. And especially in the first part, he is not, like a anti-hero with a heart of gold. He just plain hates us. He came here, we shot down his last clone, we experimented on his corpse. He really hates us, and he just wants to wipe us out, or basically farm us and then get as much DNA out of us as possible. And that's what still resonates with people, is that it's really unapologetic. You shoot your way all the way up to the presidency. There's no stopping you, and you just want to take over Earth.
Well, it sounds like we sort of earned that, right? I mean, we did bad stuff to this dude's family.
We've been horrible to aliens, maybe, probably.
Exactly.
Now let's talk a little bit about the voice recordings. A lot of people have the voice cast is kind of burned in people's brains. Crypto's voice, they're very familiar with that. How are you going about sort of remastering that aspect of it?
Well, basically, with the English voice cast, we're sticking to the original voice recordings.
Oh, wow.
So this is exactly as they were, because there's basically not anything that can be made better there. The banter between especially the main 2 actors it's legendary, and you don't want to change a thing. What we're looking at is, because we've got a much bigger variety in NPCs and much more different people in the world, we're looking at recording new thoughts, because you can read people's thoughts and they serve as kind of little jokes. Actually quite nice jokes. It's not like a kick them when they're down, but it's really just finding out about the secret desires of the policeman who really wants to be a dancer and stuff like this. And since we now have a bigger variety, we'll record more thoughts. And we have a lost mission which we recovered when we went through all the archives and everything. There was basically a mission that was never executed.
Oh, wow.
And we have a certain amount of voice files from that, and we know we have the kind of structure and what was meant to happen. And it connects two missions that are already in the game. And we're gonna basically restore that lost mission And for that one, we're also going to record some more lines with the original actors.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then just maybe we have to see what we need, basically, as it pops up. Sometimes you need like player acknowledgements, like, yeah, well done, and stuff like this, which nowadays players expect more than back then.
So on top of being sort of a remaster and a director's cut, you're also, essentially restoring deleted scenes from the movie.
Basically.
That's really interesting, and bringing back the original actors and stuff for that. Yeah, because I think we had a lot of questions about the sort of the push and pull of making a remake and, not treading on sacred ground, but also revitalizing something and modernizing it. And I think it's really cool to be able to retain parts of it, like the voice acting, but then also take new parts and go like, let's go a little crazier over here.
Yeah, I mean, we had the good thing about it was that we had the second part as a little bit of inspiration, so what is, and also later parts of the franchise to see like, okay, this was nice, this worked well. And at the same time, our general approach, or the approach of the team, is to say, okay, people love this cult classic, but it's 15 years old. They remember it through this nice pink haze of, wasn't this awesome?
Yeah.
So we tried to remake it the way that you remember that it was, instead of how it actually did play.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you end up with trying to hit the spot of how people imagined it, because it was still, the graphics were less detailed and everything like this, so a lot of things happened in their heads, and we talked to each other like, when you played it back then, because a lot of us played it, like, how do you remember that scene? Like, what did you think how it was? And then we play it again, and we compare, and then we say like, okay, let's build what everybody thought happened here with this boss fight or stuff like this. So the boss fights have clearer phases and all this kind of stuff.
I appreciate that, because a phrase you hear a lot in gaming is, oh, that didn't age well. And so this circumvents that entirely. So before people could even have that conversation, you're like, play the new one.
Yeah.
It's
the cool thing is that a lot of people here at the show and at E3, they told us like, oh, this is exactly how I remember it.
Yep.
Which for us is then like, okay, cool. We nailed the art style, we nailed the feeling, and people think like this it still feels the way they remember it, even though there's lots of little bits changed. And I mean, even like the cutscenes, like they're completely motion captured the entire game now. So all the little nuances in the faces, which back then you basically just imagine on your own with your own imagination,
right,
they're now really here. And that's just a great opportunity that modern technology brings around.
No, that's awesome.
Now, in addition to the nostalgia for Destroy All Humans, you also did a wonderful sort of remake of a Rammstein video for the trailer. How did that come together? Was that just sort of
that
good
was
fit?
Actually like an idea of our managing director, who just said like, look, we're all huge Rammstein fans, and the song Ich Will has this moment in there where a lady sings very high, and that sounds like the theremin, which is like an instrument that was used in the 50s for like in original Star Trek.
Yep.
This kind of sound people associate very much with aliens. And the lady in the Rammstein song also a bit sounds like that. And then we looked further into it and thought like, this is just a great song. Rammstein is an awesome band. We wanted to just also reach people that might have never heard about it. And we had very positive feedback for the trailer. It was great to see people who were just like, whoa, why is this alien singing Rammstein? And
put Rammstein in the game, please. I saw demands for that. Like half the comments on the trailer, people are stoked on it. I'm like,
yeah. A lot of people ask like, is he the German voice of
Yes, Till Lindemann is the voice of crypto now. That's where we're going with that.
Martin, thank you so much. This game looks awesome. We're very excited to play it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Destroy All Humans. It's the game you remember, but even better. That's how you should play it these days. Plenty of games here at IGN covering Gamescom now all week long, so don't go anywhere.
Fact. IGN is better at video games than all other outlets.
All video games. Who's a good boy?
We're also the best at being incredibly humble.
I just on you, kid.
I got him.
Yes. Hey, Nick, did you hear about the new Marvel news?
No, what happened? What happened? Hey, what happened? Tell me.
Has this ever happened to you? Good news! It doesn't have to! The Daily Fix is here every day with a concentrated dose of all that gaming, movie, TV, streaming, internet, and puppy news you need to survive the work week. All right, so puppy news isn't on it yet, but I'm working on it. Roll the thing!
Hey everybody, James Duggan at the THQ Nordic booth. We're going to check out Biomutant. We have a little double feature for you, and then we're going to do Destroy All Humans. So follow me in. We'll tell you all about it. This is their activation. Folks are going hands-on with Biomutant in here, which is an open-world action RPG that's very unique. I got to demo it last year at Gamescom. Here is where all the magic happens. So actually, if you just check the screen out right here, this gentleman is customizing his character, which is interesting because character customization in Biomutant isn't just aesthetic. All of these various genetic modifications that are happening on screen are also informing the stats and kind of the archetype of the character. And if you whip around to your left, we can actually see what some of that action looks like here. So Biomutant is an open-world action RPG with different biomes. It looks like we're checking out a desert or heat biome. And you have a lot of very interesting weaponry at your disposal. There are these larger enemies, smaller enemies, 6 different factions in total. The kind of overarching story here is that you need to defeat these 6 world eaters that are destroying this life-giving tree. And we can see this gentleman right here, really high intensity, agility-based gameplay, or rather high mobility gameplay. He's using, looks like he's dual wielding like a crossbow and a pistol, and you can do all this kind of stuff on the fly. There are melee weapons. We can see there's this very interesting kind of jury-rigged chainsaw on his back. There's this weapon called the Cologne fist, and all these various interesting things. So you have all those statistic ARPG, high agility-based gameplay stuff, but then you also have these modifications. There's kind of like a Katamari Damacy thing. Going around the open world is really interesting. There's a mech. Let's see what's going on over here. Oh, there, this is fun. This guy just got pooped out, and now he's going back into his butt. This is one of the world eaters I was talking about. He is lewd, he is rude, and he's really mean. All right, what do you say we check out Destroy All Humans? It's Destroy All Humans time. I'm joined by Crypto, who's crashed into this beautiful activation. He is popping out of this UFO. The whole THQ Nordic booth in general looks wonderful. There's Darksiders Genesis over there, which, come on back to Crypto. He looks too good. We'll get to that later. All right, let's check out Destroy All Humans in the diner-themed activation. This guy's hungry for brains and DNA. Oh, who's this? It's Elena of Black Forest Games. So, tell us all about Destroy All Humans. This is a remake for those who didn't play in 2005. What is this all about?
We approach this like, we love Destroy All Humans, we love the old one, so like, let's try to remake it as we remember it. So we just put on our pink glasses and try to make it as pretty as we imagined it to be back then.
It does look wonderful. The plot is not the most complicated thing, but I think that really helps facilitate what's happening in the game. So tell us, what does Crypto want? Why is he on Earth? What is he doing?
Furons have currently a little bit of an issue. They procreate by cloning themselves, and over the course of the centuries, the DNA kind of degraded, so they need a refresher of their DNA.
So is this just a remastering of the original Destroy All Humans, or is there any new content here as well?
It's a remake, so we are also adding a few tidbits. There's going to be a lost mission that was cut from the original game. We found in the files, like, okay, this is amazing, we need to add it. And of course, like new voice lines that we found in the original game that weren't used, and some other nice things to enhance the gameplay.
That's really exciting. New graphics, new content, new voice lines. We got to see Biomutant. We got to see Destroy All Humans. For all things Gamescom, you're already in the right place at IGN. Hey everyone, James Duggan here at the World of Tanks booth, or should I say the Wargaming booth. We're going to go do a tank boot camp, which is kind of like the Harry Potter sorting hat in the sense that it's going to test me, judge me, and then spit out a tank that I can command. So the first step in figuring out which tank will be assigned is to battle Khalil here and throwing styrofoam balls at a screen. Oh, you're going down, buddy. Oh, there we go. Oh, this is a close match. Oh yeah, let's move on to stage 2. Stage 2, I have to control a tank by raising and lowering my arm to try and destroy as many boxes as I can. Again, I gotta beat Khalil, which is not gonna be hard. This is very bizarre. We can see now that the Xbox Kinect was in fact a mistake. This is actually super fun. I'm impressed with how much fidelity there is here. Again, I gotta be victorious here. That is a dominant, more than double victory. Make sure you're getting these poses. These are really important. All right, stage 3. Stage 3 is all about Fortnite, specifically flossing. This is what real tank commanders go through to get assigned which tank they'll command. So here we go. Oh, my hips don't lie, neither does my tank. You gotta watch out for mines. Oh, God. Oh. Okay, this is a little awkward. I'm not doing so well. It's gone so incredibly poorly for me. I'll be amazed if I win this. Oh, crushed. All right. You got 1 to 2. We'll see how it goes. Phase 4 is all about survivability. If the main turret gets hit, I gotta put it out. If there's any red dots, I gotta push them. Here we go. Come on, I know I'm feeling it. That's what it's all about right there. All right, move on. I've graduated. I'm ready to take my inaugural photo. I got the T14. I'm super happy. Look at that score. I've finally amounted to something with my life. Gamescom 2019 World of Tanks booth. You too can get your tank driver's license, which of course is redeemable at any real-world military, any country you want. Totally fine. For all things Gamescom, keep it right here on IGN.
Fact. IGN is better at video games than all other outlets.
All video games. Who's a good boy?
We're also the best at being incredibly humble.
I just on you, kid.
I got him.
Yes, 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 yes.
Introducing the all-new Up It Nude! Up It Nude's new and improved recipe is chock full of lists, let's plays, unboxings, special guests, goofs, guffaws, and other content too stupid for regular weekdays.
Like some sort of color-changing reptile stripper man. I'm doing it. Don't touch it. What's wrong with you? Get corn snack. Game sucks. Bring it back.
Up It Nude, weekends on IGN and YouTube.
Well, things are winding down here at day 2 of IGN at Gamescom now, but there's still lots more to come. We are here all week. Brian, what's in store tomorrow?
Tomorrow we've got Disintegration, we've got Journey to the Savage Planet, and we have Blasphemous, which looks so awesome.
That all sounds very exciting, but something really exciting is happening right now. There's a bird in the convention center.
That's right.
We got to get this guy out of here.
Gamescom.
Let's
get him.
Get out of here.
What are you working on?
We got to get this guy
Tell
out
us
of here.
about your game.
There's games everywhere. Anyway, Gamescom. It's not just games. Sometimes there's also a bird.
The official bird.
We'll see you tomorrow.